Oh, I'm sorry I'm late getting back, everybody. I've just had to nip down the co-op to get some sandwiches and some beer because we're doing a bit of a beer festival. So I'm just going to fade this music out now. Sorry about that. And I got to co-op and there's a massive queue there. I had no idea. So you've just seen the video there. In a nutshell, you're Glasgow and we need you because we want you on stage. You just saw the video there of how a bunch of dads have been building the pyramid stage from cardboard. There's the helicopter view with a bit of a drone. And here we are on the stage here. Unbelievable. People said it couldn't be done and we've done it. I'd love to have a beer now, but I'm just going to have a drop of lemonade. Who's that over there? It's not him. I know he's got a West Country accent, but oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Over there, I swear that's Mark Anderson. I've got his number here. Hang on, Mark Anderson is an utter legend, right? He's like Mr. Creative, Mr. Tech. I'm just put him up. I've got one of these apps, right? He thinks he knows all the apps. I've got this app with my smartphone. I can just press that there, and just realised why the audio's rubbish because I haven't clicked the microphone on. Let's click the microphone up there. Now the microphone's a bit better. This has suddenly become a very professional show. I've got a carrier bag full of beer and egg sandwiches and crisps. I didn't have any cheese and onion, but when I press this button here, up on the screen as if by magic is an utter legend. Mark, can you hear me? He's not going to say anything.
I can hear you great, Nick. Hiya.
No,
How you doing?
He's a Zoom pro, right? Because what you do is you wait 3 seconds before you say anything, which gives the other person a heart attack, thinking that the audio is not working, and he brightly sparks into life. Let's bring Mark Anderson. So, Mark, mate, I'm not being funny, but you are on a pyramid stage in Brian Walton School in Somerset. How does that make you feel?
Fantastic. And do you know what, though? I mean, that school is just a short drive from me. I live in Somerset. Glastonbury is a 15-minute drive from where I live. So this is really local to me, which is why, you can probably hear from my accent that I am definitely from these parts. I can ham it up a little bit if you'd like, me lover. But, it's literally just down the road. I shop in Street, which is 20 km from Glastonbury all the time. It's somewhere really, really close to where I live and close to home. So I'm not missing all the traffic jams on the M5 this weekend, to be fair, but it's fantastic what you're putting together here, Nick, and I really hope that families and teachers and students are getting a real thrill and a real kick at what you're putting together here. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So big kudos to you for what you're doing, mate, and sharing here.
The funny thing is, I hired somebody the other day to do social media. They didn't turn up for work the second day, so we haven't got an awful lot of help going. But the thing is, do you know what I mean? There's 6, 8, 10 people watch it. But then suddenly 100 and then 1,000, and it's the repeats that you get the traffic on, isn't it? I mean, you've been streaming. In fact,
absolutely.
Rewind. Mark, give us an elevator pitch about you and what you do, because I was telling people earlier that you're just as confident and capable talking to a board of governors about IT strategy and LEA people as you are working with early years with the latest app. I mean, is that a reasonable summary? I mean, could you beat that? Tell us about yourself. Go on.
Absolutely, and so I taught for 20 years. I've been a school governor for many years as well during that time, and my work now sees me presenting to audiences, a whole staff group, but you can equally see me sort of teaching a sort of demonstrator lesson to 30 sort of 5-year-olds, not 35-year-olds, 35 years old, 35-year-olds all together in the room. I've got an example, a little video in the presentation I'm going to share with you in a few moments, for example, that was made by some 6-year-old students in a class I taught in Hackney in London. And so I work with all sorts of groups of people, but my mission really has always been to try and share not always the good stuff, like we've seen today with some of the things. Some of the technology doesn't always work as you'd expect, or want to do an update right in the middle of you trying to do something really special and all these different things. And so a lot of it is about sort of trying to develop teacher confidence and autonomy, to give them the sort of foundation so they can start to really innovate and be creative in the apps and the tools that they're going to use. But yeah, that's sort of me in a nutshell. I really taught for 20 plus years. I've written a bit. My blog's won the Education Award, UK Education Blog of the Year Award, sorry. So I've published a few books, and it's a real privilege to do what I do now. I got into teaching to make a difference and to help young people, and the work I do now helps me to amplify that on a much, much bigger level. So fantastic. I'm really, really proud and privileged to be able to do what it is that I do now. But like you, I share plenty. I do weekly shows. I do a show every Thursday night, for example, on YouTube called UK Edu Stories, which is on from 7 till 8 every week with my co-host Bookie Youssef. And I work around the world now as well, Nick. So I work a lot in the Middle East. So I do another show on a Monday, for example, called Learn Live UAE, which focuses on issues in the region, and have guests on to try and support and share ideas around best practice for schools in that region. Because things are always contextual with schools. No two lessons in a school are ever the same. Even if you're teaching the same year group, there's so many different dynamic characters within the classrooms and the pupils that you work with. But I try and support people with teaching and learning with technology, and I know a few apps, shall we say.
I was going to say you do your little
apps as the App Store itself, but I know a few.
Because you do like a periodic table for different subjects, don't you? So have you got 10 minutes just to run us through a few bits and pieces, Mark? Can I leave you put you up? I'm going to put you up big screen now, pump up the sound system, and we'll have 10 minutes with Mark Anderson. Go for it.
Yeah, cool. So if you could just tell me if you can see my screen. I'm going to start sharing, and I'm just going to do that now. I'm going to pop into a program called Keynote. Can you see this on your screen, Nick?
Yep, I've got yep, that's working.
Difference.
I've got that as a sort of
awesome.
PowerPoint in the middle of a bunch of slides.
Here's a question for you, Nick. What's the connection between these two things on the screen now? What's the connection between those two things, do you think?
You picked the wrong guy here, Mark. You picked the wrong guy, I'm afraid, because I know I look 21, and you think my only music's ever come out of an MP3, but you stick the pencil in the thing and you turn it and it winds the tape, doesn't it?
Absolutely, but you show that to young people today and they haven't got a clue.
I know.
Do you remember what console this came from? This joystick. What was this from?
Well, it's funny you say that, actually, because I was never. So this is the difference in age. Okay, so I was doing mixtapes on C90s, and you were on consoles, and I wasn't bothered with computers. I was off in a rock and roll and punk rock bands. You see, so I've got no idea.
Right.
Is it a SNES or something like that?
That was the Atari, one of the first consoles to come out right in the early 80s. A bit later on, I progressed onto the Sinclair Spectrum, and I was loading games up there, and I played this one here. Now, this is, I don't think this would pass the naming sort of convention. This game was called Jet Set Willy, which came out in the 80s. A very early platform game. One of my favourite games from the 80s was this one, Daley Thompson's Decathlon, and the graphics were absolutely outstanding. The audio was really good as well. I don't know if you can hear that audio, Nick. And you'd either grab your keyboard and start tapping I'm a bit too quick there. You start tapping the two keys on your keyboard really quickly to start running, or you get your joystick and you wiggle it backwards and forwards, trying to make things run. And this is the sort of stuff that I had access to when I was a kid, and this is what inspired me with technology and all these different things. But the things that kids have access to these days is just so beyond what we had access to when we were children. I mean, I think about the sort of coronavirus and the pandemic at the moment, so I think to myself, crikey, if this had happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, look at that. Where would we have been all that time ago if we didn't have access to all these different things? Children have access to some amazing apps. This is an app that my youngest used to use. He's a bit older now. He's 9 now. But back in the day, he used to love playing this. You could actually take control of his own train and drive it along. And here we go. You should be able to see this sort of coming along like this now.
Loving that, Mark.
And you can interact with this, use your finger on the screen and move it around so you can see it from different angles. You can make the train drive along, and when you've got really, really young children, getting them to interact and sort of get their fine motor control so they can actually do these things is fantastic. And he wanted to be a train driver when he was playing with this game. It's absolutely fantastic. You can go in here, you can pull the whistle, you can even tap on the cup of tea and have a sip from your brew. And there's so much you can do. It's just amazing what's available. This is called Toca Train, which is available for free on Android and iOS.
It's funny, Mark, because I took my boys down to the Great Western Railway Centre at Didcot about 15 years ago. Right. And I had to slip the station master 20 quid to get a ride on the footplate of one of the steam engines. So it's a bit dearer in those days, wasn't it? Did you? Why doesn't that surprise you?
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, I was a bit of a train spotter myself back in the day. I'll share that story with you off air sometime about the things we used to do.
What goes on tour stays on tour.
Absolutely. But children love this idea of playing games and building their own games and this sort of thing. And everyone's sort of heard of Minecraft. But I want to share with you another tool called Bloxels. And if I just shift this up a little bit, you can see the Bloxall's name just there upside down for the spelling. But you can get these different things. You can design your own characters like this. And within the app itself, there's a camera. And you take a picture of this here, and it converts it into a character in the game. So you can do it yourself manually with the board like this in the actual app itself. Can you guess who this character might be from a distance? If you sort of move yourself back a little bit, Nick, can you work out who that character might be? Maybe from a
Is it another
from
one
a
of
Star
your?
Wars film?
Well, there you go. It's another one of your millennial things, isn't it? I haven't got a clue. No, I haven't got
Me
a
a
clue.
millennial, that's it. I'm 46. That's BB-8, which is the droid that was in the more recent Star Wars films.
Oh, I know the
But
one.
you can make these characters and then bring them straight into your games and play with them. That one there's a little Harry Potter character. And honestly, you build your character like this, and then you simply press the play button in the bottom right-hand corner here, and it drops it into a little game, and you can build your own levels within it and do all these different things. This is Harry Potter sort of moving around these levels here. So that's an app called Bloxall's, which is a fantastic tool for children to use to be really, really creative, have loads of fun, build their own games. You can save them and share them with your friends through the app and all the rest of it. It's absolutely fantastic. Children love, though, Nick, making their own little sort of stop frame animation scenes. I want to share another free app with you called iMotion, which enables you to make some fantastic sort of short, quick, really easy to make stop frame animation videos. And that's why I brought out the Lego character a second ago. I mean, I've got like many parents, I've got a whole ton of Lego. I mean, I'm actually holding a Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory character in my hand right now. I don't know if you can see me on camera as well as my screen.
Where are you? You're not on the screen now.
holding...
Can we get you in there if we can?
It's all right. I'll show you Sheldon in a second. That's fine.
So, just out of interest, is this an English company, iMotion? Are they an English firm? Do you know?
I have no idea at all.
Because I connected with an animation firm recently.
There are loads of apps available for doing this stop frame animation stuff. Like I Can Animate, and they're fantastic apps. But I wanted to share today things that are absolutely completely free to use.
Brilliant, yeah.
So long as you've got access to the technology. But yeah, I don't know about the provenance of the organisation, but I've been using the app for a number of years, and it's Ron Seal, mate. It does what it says on the tin. You know, you can use it really quickly and easily for making these little stop frame animation videos. So here's one that was made with the school in Hackney. They've used iMovie after doing their recording to make different backgrounds and things here. But this is something where they were learning about pollination. They made this little stop frame animation video here. Right, and that is absolutely fantastic. It's
Excellent,
a fantastic way of engaging the learners in the learning activity. They're demonstrating what they've learned, but they can be really, really creative with things as well. This is another little video from some work I did with another school, telling the story of George and the Dragon. And so the video carries on. But these things are so easy to put together. You do the recording using iMotion. It doesn't have the opportunity within iMotion to put the sound effects on and all the rest of it. You need to find another tool to do that. But if you've got an iOS device, then iMovie comes bundled with that. If you're on an iPad or an iPhone, and these were sort of edited post filming in iMovie, so all the sound effects you can hear, that do 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 do, and all those things are all stock samples that come within the app, so you can put those things in and record your voice over the top, and all of that as well. So there are lots of ways in which you can do these things, but say iMotion is a great place to start, so you can get that sort of stop frame animation stuff actually down and sorted. I wanted to share with you, you mentioned, Nick, my periodic tables. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of amazing apps out there to facilitate teaching and learning. And if I just zoom in on this one here, for example, this one here, Google Arts and Culture, this is a fantastic free app, works on Android and iOS again, and you can use that to visit museums around the world. And it's not just a case of seeing pictures of those museums. They've got augmented reality and virtual reality features built directly into the app, so you can actually look at your device, and as you move it left and move it right, so you can actually look around the museum and actually be there in situ and learn more about the things and the paintings and the various exhibitions that are there. And lots of them enable you to sort of zoom in really closely and see really up close, better than you would if you're actually going to actually visit the museum, to see these different things in place there. So there's loads and loads of great tools available to us. What I wanted to sort of try and share with you on screen as well, actually, Nick, I'm just going to just double check this is still mirroring. Yeah, this is one of the apps that's on this table. I'm trying to find out I'm trying to see where the actual icon for it is right now. Where is it? I can't see it. So many apps, you see, even with the 82 that are on here. Here we go, here, Jig Space. It's this one here. Now, if I just switch my screen a second, Nick, and go across to here, can you see my iPad screen now?
Yes, I think so. Yep. So we've now got a grid of 5x5. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Jig Space. This is a free app for Android and iOS again. And within here, we can learn about all sorts of different things. So, for example, I can go through to here, and there's one here, for example, on the anatomy of a lightsaber. I can go and I can explore the NASA Curiosity rover on Mars. I can learn about how a battery works. I can see inside planet Earth. And these are all great things for how microphones work and things like coronavirus, all sorts of stuff in here. But once it's actually in there, once you've got the app on your device, you can simply load it up. Let's do the lightsaber one a second. Okay, there you go. And it's retrieving the stuff for me here. And it wants to place this jig just here. So I'm going to try and place this jig on my table. And now I've actually got a lightsaber here now that I can actually move around and explore in augmented space. And it asks questions, and you can actually work on these and collaborate with friends on them and do all sorts of stuff.
So just to be quite clear, the wooden floor there is the wooden floor in the room you're in, and that picture has been overlaid on top of it.
Floor. Yeah, you can see my microphone just behind it that I'm talking to you through. But this lightsaber you can see here is in augmented space. It's obviously not really there. You see my hand is moving in front of the camera there. Okay, so I'm working my way through, and it's teaching me and showing me. Oh, there's the activation lever. That's fantastic, and it's holding that against there. Fantastic. What else have we got to learn about in here? That's where the power battery goes inside the lightsaber. This is where the primary, so forth and so on. There are so many amazing things that we can learn about through this free app called Jig Space. And this is just one example of many, many different tools that you can utilise. So I'll just do that. There's
and could you put Google Cardboard headset on there? Could you put a Google Cardboard headset on?
If you use it on a phone, then you can pop that into something like Cardboard and do that. But honestly, though, you don't even need the Cardboard to be able to do what I'm doing now. I'm just holding my iPad above my table here and showing you all these things straight away. So I'm doing that. I'm going to the next one. I can now see the lower mantle. I can see beneath the planet Earth just here. I can see the outer core, so forth and so on. So there's so many amazing things that we can actually access and use to keep our children occupied, engaged, learning about new things. And there's also loads of things in here as well, like how to do different things. So for example, you see how to fix a leaky tap, how to maintain your fridge, how to pick out which is a bad egg from a load of eggs.
Do you know what I'm thinking here?
How castling work. Yes, there's so much stuff built into this app. It's awesome, really powerful.
It's interesting, because what I'm thinking here, there's a lot of talk at the moment about a national curriculum and the Oaks National Online School and what to teach and what not to teach. And kids are getting a lot of stress for being on their screens all the time, but often it is game playing, often it is mindless chit chat, whatever, which we all used to do in a different media. But one thing that really does surprise me is how much general knowledge a lot of kids are now getting by just surfing and browsing and looking at this stuff. So they're actually learning what they would have only ever learned at school before, aren't they? So that I think the whole role of education is another conversation, I know, but it's fascinating, really, isn't it? What's out there, and school's quite boring after you've had a weekend of this.
Well, that's it. There's so much out there. I mean, my own children, they teach me things all the time. And I'm like, how do you know that? And it's only one of two answers. Answer number one, which happens more often than not, is I found it on YouTube. Okay, and everyone gets that. But the second one, which I absolutely love, is where they tell me they found out how to do it and how it works, and actually by playing with it and working it out for themselves. And that's one of the things that really worries me about education, is that children lose that curiosity the older they get. Children start off really curious and wanting to find out more and learn more and all the rest of it. And I think it's really incumbent upon us as teachers, yes, use the research, things like concrete examples and spaced practice and retrieval practice and all these different sort of cognitive psychology principles behind what works for teaching and learning. Absolutely, go for it. And I'm a huge advocate for using technology for purposeful ways. But we need to still maintain that curiosity and creativity in our students. We need to present them with problems that need to be solved. We can't there is no one-size-fits-all approach to teaching and learning. And having access to tools that enable the children to really express themselves and to talk about things in ways which aren't meaning they're sat in rows in silence for an hour while they've been talked at, or they're doing an activity in a book or whatever. It's about trying to marry about all these different things together so that you have a mix, a blend of these different approaches, so that we're able to keep our learners focused and interested. There's a famous quote which talks about engagement being.
Can we get you back up on the screen, Mark? Let's get you back up on the screen. Do you want to pull your photo back, your camera back?
Yeah, I'll bring myself back. I've got a few more things to show you, but I'll
you
come
can
back
toggle
to
back
you
just
for a second.
Yeah, it's nice to get you up there.
That's not the right one. How do I get myself back? See, this is the bit, Nick, where I want to just sort this out. It's not working for me. How do I do this? Is that come back?
I don't find Skype very intuitive at all, actually, but it's a very good platform for just end-to-end video calls. Do you know what I mean? If you just want to make a phone call.
Yeah.
And what you're doing now, I do this all the time.
It's now trying to get me to do things by sharing my screen with Skype, and I've already got permission to share stuff on Skype. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, things go wrong for
it doesn't matter.
Lots of people. So I don't know what's actually happened now. I think I might have actually crashed Skype. I'm not sure.
Mark, I'll tell you what, I'll just hang up the call and call you straight back. That will reset it. Take 2 secs.
Okay, cool.
Sound like a plan?
No worries.
Yeah, okay.
Cheers.
All good. Not to worry. We don't care. Do we look like we care? I don't think so. And let's call him straight back.
Awesome stuff. Well, that's back to that old adage, isn't it? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
It's funny, because I get a bit of stick off people. They say, "Oh, aren't you using Zoom?" I said, "Well, no, actually, because I actually just want to be able to make a video call." And there aren't many platforms that just let you make a straight video call that are widely available, because FaceTime is iOS only. You can't use that on a PC. And Zoom requires you to actually set up a conference and all those links. So what we're doing here is another level in terms of production value. It's a bit more like a TV show, but then there are downsides and hiccups, and there's an 8-second delay or whatever. But it's all good. We're learning, and do either of us look like we care? We're mates, and it doesn't matter. And we have to show that we're not afraid to fail to our kids, don't we? Let's face it. So
absolutely, and I'm very happy to when things like that happen. It's annoying. But what have we done, Nick? We've actually troubleshooted it. We've come up with a solution. We've tried it, and it's worked. And so, again, showing that resilience and modelling that to children is really important and really powerful too. Speaking about using Skype as well, though, somebody who you may be aware of is Russell Prue. He is
brilliant.
Like Mr. Radio, and he uses Skype for bringing people into his studio for doing the recordings as well. So it might be worthwhile having a chat with him about how he does some of his stuff as well, Nick. And I'm sure there's parallels there too. But I hope you enjoyed those few apps that I shared.
That was really good.
There was one app that I wanted to share with. There was one tool I wanted to share with you, Nick, and I sent you a little link earlier on. Did you see that?
I did see it.
I sent you.
I did see that, and I thought, I'm not clicking that because I don't click links from strangers.
But I'm no stranger.
I did.
I'm
Mark.
sharing my screen again now. Look,
I did. Hang on a second.
viewers,
Let me
this
just pull this up.
This is a fantastic tool. This is viewers. This is a free tool from Google, and to get to it, you go to g.co. I'll type it on this tab here: g.co/shared piano. You can see the address just here at the top. Okay, and what you can do is you can send a link, and the link appears here down the bottom. You go to copy link, and you send that to somebody. And I sent the link to Nick, and I think Nick's actually in there now. Nick, could you just press ASDF on your keyboard for me, please?
Oh yeah, cool.
And there's Nick playing the piano there right in front of me. But what I can now do, Nick, is if I just jump onto here, I can now.
You had to trump me, didn't you?
So we got a bit of echo going on because we're doing all these things with different sources and audio inputs and all the rest of it. But as you can see, Nick and I are both playing this keyboard at the same time, and it works really well. I'm actually going to play. I'm going to attempt at least, Nick, to play you a little song and see if you can tell me what the song is when I play it. You can use it really, really well. So I'm just going to have a go at starting this now, see if this works. See if you can tell me what you think the song is, Nick, okay?
Cool.
Oh,
that was very good. That was Axel F, wasn't it?
It was Axel F, Harold Faltermeyer, yeah, the theme tune to the Eddie
Hills
Murphy
Cop.
film.
Was it Beverly Hills Cop? Yeah,
absolutely.
We are showing our age now.
So, but I mean, this is just amazing, and again, completely for here he goes, completely for free. I'm going to talk about some Google stuff now for a moment, if that's all right as well, Nick, because Google do offer some fantastic tools. One of the apps that I was going to share with you, which is back here in my presentation, is this one here called Google Expeditions. You can download Google Expeditions onto your phone, your tablet, regardless of Android and iOS and all the rest of it. And you can go on virtual tours. And there are literally hundreds of virtual tours that you can go on using Google Expeditions. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And if you've got a few devices, you can do shared tours if you're on the same Wi-Fi and all these different things, which is great for families to be able to do all those sorts of things. I think it's really, really powerful. But one of the things I want to share with you beyond the great Google Expeditions tours that you can do, and as it goes, Nick, it isn't just about visiting places sort of, that you would normally be able to visit. One of the great things about technology is that you can use it to do things that wouldn't be possible without the technology. So, for example, you can do a tour inside the human body and look at different things about how blood flows around the human body, or you can look at how blood flows through your heart, through the various ventricles and aorta and all these different parts. You can also take virtual tours using Google Expeditions into space or to the bottom of the oceans and all these different places. Is absolutely brilliant. But what I wanted to share with you, because I wanted to sort of share things which are sort of super creative and ideas for families to sort of undertake and take away with them. If you go to your browser, and the address here is not a very easy one to remember, but if you just search for Google Tour Creator, and what you can do with Google Tour Creator is you can use the images that are on Google Street View to actually make your own virtual tours, which you can then share with your friends and families. Okay, so if I just go to New Tour here at the top,
I did one of these. I did one of these for an art gallery.
I'm going to call it Nick's Tour, and I'm going to hit Create, and I'm going to search for a place. I'm going to put in Glastonbury, okay, and Glastonbury Tour. There we go. And what I'm seeing here now is the Google Street View of the tour on what looks to be a bit of a rainy day here. I'm just going to move a little bit away from there on the Street View map. But what I can do is I can add this in as a location inside the Street View app. I'll leave it as it is right now, actually, and I'll just go Add Scene. So it will drop this image in straight away here, and as you can see, there's a whole variety of things. I can call this like Glastonbury Scene 1 at the top, and I can put a description in, I can put some credits in. But the great thing that I think is really good, I can put in some ambient audio, and I can also add a scene narration. So I could hit scene narration there at the beginning, Nick, and when people come to this sort of part of the tour, I can go, "Hi, welcome to my Glastonbury tour," and here we can see inside the building, and it's looking really fantastic. So that's the intro bit done. I can then, if I want to sort of teach people about different parts or share things that I've learned about the space, for example, about this entrance, there may be some feature here I want people to sort of know about. I go Add Point of Interest, and the interesting point goes there. and I put it where I want it, and I can describe it and give it a title and things. But again, what I can do is I can add narration to this, so that when people view this part in the tour, they can then hear and learn about that particular thing as well. This is absolutely just mind-blowing. I think it is so powerful. We can add more scenes in as well, so I'm now just going to put in Glastonbury, UK. It's now going to drop you inside a pub by the looks of it. I don't want to go there, do I? Let's go somewhere else in the world and do a little tour there. Let's try the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi. Okay, so here we are now. We're actually inside the mosque, and I can do the same thing again. So we're looking up here. We've got the minarets and different things. So I can go onto here and add scene based upon that. I can give it another title. I can do what I was doing before. So I can add a point of interest up here, so forth and so on. Do the narration, put the information in, so forth and so on. And when you're finished, hit publish. Okay, and I need a cover image, so I need to do that. But once you've published it, that's then easily shareable with all your friends and family, and you don't have to use the images that are on here as well, Nick. What's also fantastic, there's a Google Street, we all know about Google Street View, yeah?
Yeah.
But there is a Google Street View app that you can download onto your phone or your tablet, Android or iOS. What you can do with that, Nick, is you can actually make your own 360-degree images with that, which can then be used in things such as these tours that we're doing here. Wow. So it doesn't have to be the stuff that comes directly from Street View. We can do that with our own images that we've made ourselves. So that would just require you to download the Google Street View app onto your phone, and there's an option on there which enables you to make your own 360-degree images. It's really clever.
From an ordinary camera?
Inside this tour creator as well, yeah.
That's from an ordinary camera, is it? It stitches the pictures together, does it?
It stitches the pictures together, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Let me see if I can just bring, I've taken quite a few
I've
of
got a
those
360 camera, I've got a 360 degrees camera, so I took some photographs at the Keith Haring exhibition at Tate Liverpool and then stitched those into a little virtual tour, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out how we actually get the ones that we've done before in across. I'll have to have a little play around. It was a bit fiddly last time I did it, but I know it is possible for you to do that, Nick. If you just go to the Google Street View app, Android, for example, there is the Street View app on the App Store. And this is just the one that you're looking for here. And so within there, you can make your own 360-degree images. It says capture in 360. It tells you how to do it just here. Follow the instructions through, that sort of thing. There's so many things you can do with technology, Nick. It is just amazing. I wanted to finish with one final app, actually, called Figment AR. Figment AR is just absolutely bonkers. What it will do, Nick, is it will enable you to create what are called portals, okay, which are basically fake doors. And you can create a fake door with your phone, which you can then walk through whilst holding your phone. Okay, and it then puts you through into another world. So it's like a whole Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe type thing, where you can walk through a door and be transported directly into another space or world. I would do a live demo of it, but I'm not prepared to show the inside of my house because I do need to do a bit of tidying up, I'm afraid. But it is super easy to do and great fun. Again, if you have got a 360 image on your phone, you can make it so that that when you walk through that portal, when you walk through that door, it is the 360 image that you've taken and you're using on your phone that you can then sort of walk around and do a virtual tour with as well whilst you're recording your screen. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you want to find out more about how to do that, my website is ictevangelist.com, and if you search for if you just search on the site for the word Figment, I've got a little guide on there and ideas for activities surrounding all that sort of stuff as well. So hopefully there's a few things, a few takeaways, a few ideas for people to have a little play around with, Nick, during the weekend. I hope that resonates and is useful for people.
Absolutely fantastic, Mark. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to have to go back and look at that again, actually, make some notes, I think. Is it letting you come back again?
It's not letting me come back again for some
Let me
reason.
just shut
Do
you
want me
down.
to
I'll
call
get you
back
back.
again?
Yeah. That's cool. I love it when the pros struggle. It's all good. It's all good.
Hey.
There he is. He's back on main stage. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you from me and Sheldon.
Fantastic. Well, what have you got planned for the weekend, Mark? Are you going to be watching any of the Glastonbury footage at all, or?
I probably will do at some point in time and relax a bit with a soft drink or two. But I'm working quite a lot with Microsoft at the moment. They've put on 400 hours worth of free professional training for teachers over the next few months. And so I've got a session with them on Sunday, I've got a session with them on Monday. So I've got a lot of stuff going along. Because I work with technology so much, Nick, as you can imagine, I'm a busy guy anyway, but work under lockdown has just gone pfft. So it's a real privilege again to be able to sort of help and support so many different people with their different activities and the things that we're doing. So I got that stuff with Microsoft this weekend. I'm really proud as well. I've written a guide for schools, Nick, a guide to help them with digital strategy with a friend of mine called Al Kingsley. He's Al Kingsley _edu on Twitter, and we've written that together, which we are launching on Monday as a guide. We did an original version of it, which we gave out at BET back in January at the London Excel, which is now where the Nightingale has been. But we wrote our first version, but based on some feedback and things that have happened in the lockdown, we've really sort of developed it, tweaked it, put some new sections in about collaboration and communication and all those sorts of things. And we've taken on loads of different case studies as well. It's really important that people in schools know what a good one looks like. It's not about copying what other people have done, but sort of taking the great things from some different contexts that apply to your context and then helping you to develop your own digital strategy. So I'm super pleased to be launching that as a free resource. It's a good sort of 70-page document, with loads and loads of great content in there to help and support schools. So like you, Nick, I do a lot to try. I do charge for some things that I do, but I do like to share and do what I can to help people as and when I can. And this is just one of those projects where we're able to get these things out to people and help them because well, technology is not cheap, is it? And it's, we sort of share that it's too expensive to leave what you're doing with it to chance, really. We want schools and students and teachers to make the most of what's available to them, and that's what the guide aims to do, to help them sort of think carefully about their purchases and how they're going to actually deploy it and use it to best help students and teachers and families with learning. I'm really psyched to get it out there.
That's good advice. And I think one of the things, Mark, as well, is a lot of families, lots of parents looking at this. The elephant in every room is a screen as far as they're concerned. It's great, it's creative as you've seen today. It's a consumer. You consume content, you create it, whatever. What's your advice to parents on screen time management and technology in their young people's lives?
Well, the best thing to do really is start by having a conversation and working. I mean, this isn't my advice really. This is like a common consensus when it comes to this sort of thing. But sit down with your child and actually discuss what they think is actually acceptable. Schools will have what's called an acceptable use policy when it comes to using technology, and so working on your own sort of home use agreement with your child and do that in conjunction with them is super helpful. But there are iOS is sort of leading the way a bit on this. They've got a feature in iOS called Screen Time, and so what I did with my own children, and this is what I recommend to parents when I talk to parents in after school sessions. Sometimes with schools I'll do a session for parents after my training with teachers, and I say sit down with your children, get your screen time settings up on your iPads and iPhones and what have you, and just work out together what is acceptable. And let your children decide what their usage should be. If it says 15 hours a day playing Minecraft, then maybe not, but temper it around what is reasonable and acceptable, and then put those things into place, put the passwords on and sort it all out, and away you go. But That doesn't really help those families that use Android devices, but there's a great app called Kirby, Curbi, which gives you similar functionality and features to Screen Time on iOS, but on Android. So there are ways in which you can do all these sort of things, but there are great resources out there. A good friend of mine, Henry Platten, for example, we all worry about social media for kids. When we hear about sort of kids as young as 6 and 7 using Snapchat and Instagram and all these different things, Henry has developed a free social media for families and kids called Go Bubble. All one word, go as in go there, and bubble as in bubble. But it's available for families, and you can set up your own safe social media stuff in there for families and groups and schools and kids, and it's great for them. They've got fantastic communities on there. Everything's moderated. They've got artificial intelligence in there, which moderates every image, every word, everything that goes onto the platform is checked. If anything is thought to be a bit dodge, then it's immediately flagged. It's not actually published. The person who coordinates the account and the group of people on there is notified, so they can check it and make sure it's all okay and can deal with it and all that sort of stuff. And it's currently free for families as well. So if you just have a search for Go Bubble, that's a fantastic safe social media for young people, which enables them to have all the access to the sort of tools and things they want to better connect with each other, but in a safe way where they're not going to stumble across anything untoward or naughty that they might do otherwise.
I know he's got a background in computer crime, e-crime, all that sort of stuff, hasn't he? I think I'd love to have a look at that, and I think you actually suggested I have a chat with him, because we're launching a thing called the Rocket Kids Club, which is a similar safe place with a more of a creative thing, but there's a lot of space for collaboration. Well, thank you very much, Mark. I know you're very, very busy. Lovely to bump into you down here in Somerset. Nick. So are you down in Somerset at the moment? Are you? You're down that way now? Is that where you are?
Burnham-on-Sea is where I live. So
just
western spitting distance from there. So yeah, Weston-super-Mare's the next junction at the M5. So
because I know you like
not too far away at all.
I always like to think of a Glasgow story, of a DJ story when I chat to people like you, because I know you do a bit of DJing. But I remember coming back from Cornwall once, and we had the Radio 1 on, and there was a Radio 1 road show on Western Front. And they had Carl Cox, Dave Pearce. It was a full-on banging session. That was on a Sunday night.
Oh, fantastic!
And we've got Danny Rampling here tomorrow night. Did you see he's doing a set for us Saturday night?
I did. Yeah, I played with Danny a few years ago. I used to organise nights with some friends in Bristol, at the Warehouse Club, and like the guys I used to DJ with, they still run it. A collective called New City Sound. Please do check out their record label and their DJs. newcitysound.co.uk is the site, but. Yeah, it was a great night. It was Danny. We had Danny Rampling and Joey Negro on the same night.
I love him.
I got to play the set between. It was Joey, then me, then Danny.
No.
It was a great night, Nick. I'd say those were the days back out playing out and all that sort of stuff. I do miss it a lot.
Wow.
So with more notice, we'll have to get a live session going sometime. I'll get the 1210s out of the garage.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do that. There's two things I'd say. We've got we're doing Camp Festival at the end of July. We're doing Notting Hill Carnival end of August. But I'll tell you what I'd love to do. The grand finale is going to be at Chris Dyson's up there in Parklands in Seacroft in Leeds, and we'll have to have a massive dance party Saturday night. What do you reckon? Do you up for a spot then? Do that one?
Yeah,
gives you 3 months.
I'd love to spin some records. I do it all the time. As it goes, I'm lazy, right? So what I do more often than not these days, because it's easier to do this than it is to actually get everything out of the garage and get it all set up. I use one of two apps. I've got one DJ.
What was that? You dropped out then. What was that?
On my iPad here.
Oh, Tractor, yeah.
Tractor DJ. Yeah, and it's
that's the pro one,
brilliant.
Isn't it?
It's really, really, really good. There's another one called DJAY Pro, and that one's awesome too. Which I've got a separate MIDI controller for, so I can just plug that into my iPad through the Lightning connector, and I can then control the DJ app. It's better in some ways, I think. I was always quite a purist with my DJing, Nick, because I love to play with vinyl, and I was known as sort of the mix master back in the day, and getting two songs to sort of play at the same speed, better do a good mix is not an easy thing, as you well know.
Beat mixing,
I was really proud of my skills, but things like CDJs and say Tractor does all that sort of stuff for you. What I love about it though, and what I've come to realise with using things like Tractor, where it will do the beat matching for you, what's awesome about it, Nick, is that yes, it doesn't require the same sort of skill that you had to have in order to better do the mixing and get things at the same speed. But what it does do, the tools that are within there for creating your own live mashups, setting cue points,
brilliant.
using the effects, the creativity goes from here to here because of removing that need to spend a few moments actually getting the tunes at the right speed and things. And so, I'm still a huge advocate of having the skills of DJing and being able to craft and all those different things. But using the technology actually makes me a better DJ because of saving those few moments that I would have to lose actually getting those things beat matched. So yeah, tracks is a good shout. DJ is also brilliant.
We could talk about this all day. It's funny actually because I've got Nick Hawkes coming on at 4, who actually signed the Prodigy, and you'll know Positiva Records. You know Positiva Records, don't you? So he's
I absolutely do. Yeah.
So he signed The Bomb by Louis Vega. the Bucketheads. He signed all those back. That was the period.
Yeah.
Mate, I could talk to you all day. We're going to do this again. So this has just been wonderful to see you. Have a lovely time, a lovely weekend. Very, very grateful to you for your time. Any last words for everybody here at your Glasgow?
Just have a great weekend, everybody. Please be safe, and if you see Nick out and about, please do buy him a beer and give him a pat on the back for an awesome effort.
Well, the co-op was sorting out with some beers.
Really proud of you, mate. Well done.
And I've just got one thing to say to you, Mark. You're a sharer. Sharing is caring. It doesn't take anything to click a button to like, to share. People don't need to do it all the time, but what's the big deal? And if people have got a strategy for their timeline, that's understandable. But a little click, whether people see it or not, it just shows that somebody. It's acknowledgement, isn't it? For you and I, you might be very big in certain circles, but you're sat at home. It's nice that somebody saw something and celebrates your work, and you're a sharer. Fist bump, mate. Put it there. Give us a fist bump. Go on. Night one. Thanks a lot, Mark. I'll see you very soon. Cheers, mate. Bye bye.
Take care, Nick. Look after yourself, mate. It's all right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks,
there
everybody.
You go.
Bye.
Mark Anderson, what an utter legend, absolutely brilliant. Makes me think of Paul Trouble Anderson, actually. I must admit, he was always a bit of a bad boy on the decks. Paul Anderson. I borrowed a mixer once from a rental shop, and the crossfader didn't work, and it turned out that Paul Anderson had it and he'd broken it, and he was a bit heavy with his crossfaders. So what have we got now? We have got now we've got a really exciting moment. I feel awful we're actually half an hour late, which is not good, because we've now got the drum master. We've got Marlon Edwards. So I need to find out how to get on. So we're now going live and direct to Brookside Primary Academy for one of their pupils. This is their big moment, and I feel awful that we've kept them so long. I do hope they're going to forgive me. Let's check this out. We have got Marlon. Let's see if we can find Marlon here. I think we need to rewind. I think we might need to back this whole show up for this, because this is going to be really exciting. This is a young person from the school that we're visiting today that have been a generous host to us. Hello. Oh my goodness. Is that Marlon? Why can't I hear you? I can't hear you, Marlon. Have you got your microphone on? Oh, I can hear you a bit.
Now.
Pardon? It's a bit quiet, but I think it's going to be quite loud in a minute, isn't it? So that doesn't matter. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a proper big entry, right? I'm going to rewind. I've got to turn my camera off so you won't see me, but I can see you, and you look absolutely amazing there. So how long are you going to play for? Can you show me how many fingers that you're going to play for? How many minutes do you think, roughly? Show me some fingers.
10 minutes.
About 10 minutes. That's fantastic. So what I'm going to do is have you got a screen on there that you can see what's on the channel? Have you got the screen up?
Yeah.
You have.
I've got my tablet.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to tell you what the plan is. I'm going to rewind. I'm going to do my little introduction where I've got some music. Pretend that I've just come to Brookside Primary, and I'm going to announce you. And then I'm going to speak to you very quickly, and I want you to start drumming, and then I'm going to put you on the stage. Okay, so you just stand by. I'm going to turn your volume down a little bit for a minute. I'm going to rewind selector. Let's go all the way back to the start. And let's get ready. We are going live. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very exciting, as I'm sure you'll agree, because this is a world first. This is our first musical performance on the cardboard pretend pyramid stage that we have built at Brookside Primary Academy. Are we ready, everybody? Crew, stand by. We're going live. We are going live. Let's roll the cameras, roll the sound. Let's get this show on the road. your Glasgow, for you, by you, with you. Steamco powering through the streets of Britain, getting down to Somerset with our car, with our little trailer. We've heard there's a school, we've heard there's a community that are looking to engage their young people and shine a light to the country. Here we are, Brookside Primary Academy, led by Mr. Walton, and we are so excited to be here today. What is that in the playground? It looks like somebody's built a pyramid stage from cardboard tubes. This is incredible. This is so amazing. I don't know what to say. Unbelievable. Let me have a look here. Gosh. Whoa. I parked the car. I've just parked the car and here I am at Brookside Academy. This is just so exciting. We're having a great time, but what we need here is you. A local photographer got a drone pilot out, his drone helicopter out, and he watched as the pyramid stage was built. The children sat round, and here they are waiting for our first big act of the weekend. Our first big act of the weekend is, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the drum master, Marlon Edwards. I'm going to cut to him now. I've got to press the right buttons. This is a bit tricky. Don't stop playing yet. Let's have a look. Let's press that button there. And there he is on the pyramid stage, on the cardboard pyramid stage. Marlon, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can. So you're at Brookside Primary, are you? Do you go to Brookside? That's good. God, you got me worried then after that big build-up. Goodness me, I was a bit worried you weren't going to be at Brookside Primary for a second. So how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Is that okay to ask? Whoops, it's got the wrong picture there. Let me have a look. Why have we got the wrong picture? There we go.
Yeah.
How old are you? What year are you in?
Year 2.
Year 2. Blimey, you look like a big boy sat there. With what instruments have you got there? It's a bit blurry. My eyes aren't too brilliant.
So, I've got my snare drum, my high tom, my floor tom, and then my ride, my crash, and my splash, and my hi-hat.
Blimey, you know all the words, don't you? You've got it well sussed out. Fantastic. Well, I've got to. Sorry.
And also my bass drum and my wood block.
You've got everything there. This is fantastic. I'm just pressing a few buttons here to see what I can do to sort of just give this a little bit of adjustment. Let's see if we can. Okay, take that off there. Yes, I think we're good to go. So I'm going to press that button there and that button there, and you are now drumming. It's not brilliant because the light's not brilliant. You are on the grass in front of the cardboard pyramid stage. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Marlon Edwards, the floor is yours. Go berserk. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This first song is called Franz Ferdinand Take Me Out.
Brilliant. Wow, I need to get some audience recordings, don't I? Some crowd clapping. That was brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Wow. And you were up there on the pyramid stage, built in your playground. What do you think of it? Have you seen the pictures of our pyramid stage?
Yeah.
Were you excited about being able to play up there?
Yeah, what time did you get up this morning?
About 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh dear me. I bet Dad didn't like that. Goodness me.
Well, Dad was actually up all night, so...
Oh, is he even more excited than you? Is that what you're saying?
I miss Glastonbury.
Yeah, Dad does miss Glastonbury.
You're missing Glastonbury, Dad. Come into the shot, Dad. Come in, Dad. Let's have a chat with you. Come on.
Crikey.
Come on.
I'll lose the headphones.
You're going to be on the pyramid stage.
Hello.
Oh.
Where's Dad? I can't quite see him. Let's have a
There
look.
it is.
Oh, there we are. I can see a hand. Hello, well done. So we can got a body there. Bend down a bit. Looks like you got your Zeppelin. You got your Zeppelin t-shirt on, have you, or something?
It's just a dub squad.
Dub squad. Good vibes. Good vibes. So you're missing Carnival, missing Glastonbury Festival, are you?
Hilton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have been there.
Come on, then give us a couple of
50
memories.
years.
What memories come to mind instantly? Come on.
Well, none of them. That just proves that I did go. I know there's so many things I've seen, so many amazing. I mean, to try and pick one thing out, I think Arcadia, probably that was the craziest thing on the pyramid stage, with flaming cars sliding down the side and people in cages and juggling chainsaws.
Wow.
So yeah, you know.
When was that?
Oh crikey.
90s?
90s?
I was going to say, yeah, we wouldn't get that through health and safety now, would you? We've got one of the guys, I forget his name actually, Phil, who runs Unfair Ground.
Right, yeah.
And the cinema guy, so he's on tomorrow, because he made a film in 2012 about the off main stage, the kind of Glastonbury, Glastutopia I think it's called, and there's a film, and they screened it on iPlayer last night, and he's coming on live tomorrow to have a bit of a chat about that and the vibes and the backstory to that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
We've well, get word out, because we've still got a few slots. We want to get some, not just young people like Marlon, who's been fantastic, but we'd like to get people, dads and mum's day tomorrow, grandparents Sunday, but people with some stories, some memories. We're going to put all this up on Facebook. We had a bit of music on BBC Radio Somerset this morning. It got pulled down by YouTube because of one 10-second clip, which is a bit annoying. But put the word out, and we'll have some good vibes. And one thing I'd like you to do tomorrow, if you'd consider it, if you're around, is to have your lunch outside your house, where you know the clapping for carers we've been doing on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, the idea tomorrow is it's called a little big lunch. We're just going to say to people, go and have your lunch on a table and chair where you might have stood and clapped for carers, and just see what happens. The last time we did it a month ago, some West Indian family up the road, they brought some chicken and goat and rice, and we had some beers, and it was a bit of a struggle to get back on the job. We've got 1,000 people. In fact, Marlon, we have got a man called Tom Morley, who is one of the world's best drummers. He was with a band called Scritti Politti back in the day, who I'm sure your dad's heard of.
Yeah.
And he's doing 1,000 people in a Zoom drumming session tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock after the lunch. And if you're on there, I'll tell him to look out for you, and he can big you up on a big picture. And we're just banging with bits of cardboard, wooden spoons. You'll be one of the best. And that's immediately after the little big lunch. But 1,000 people. Have you got another song for us, Marlon? Before we go, you going to do another one?
That's great. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. It's lovely. Thanks for your support. And what a lovely man and lucky dad and lucky son. Great job. What have you got there, Marlon?
This is one called Arctic Monkeys. I bet you look good on the dance floor.
Oh, I don't look good on the dance floor, but give it a go. Go for it. When you're ready. Wow, amazing. Amazing. In fact, let me just get this sorted out. Hang on a second. Is he drumming to music or just memory? Has he got music in? He's got music in the headphones, has he?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Let's have a look.
We wanted to play the track as well, but we can't because of obviously because of royalty.
Yes, it's a bit annoying, isn't it? Actually, that's the problem I've got here as well. So Marlon, can you just play the last sort of 4 bars, because I've got some claps lined up now. I've got my act together. Go for it. Just do a little bit at the end and finish.
Just play it. You know it. You play the.
Just play the last bit.
Play the Arctic Monkeys. Go on. You don't need the track. Just play it.
Just do a drum roll and then hit the cymbals as if we're finishing.
Just
Go on. Do the ending.
crazy.
Just do the ending.
Just do your crazy bit at the end.
There you go. The crowd enjoyed that, that's for sure. Blimey, standing ovation. Marlon Edwards, you are a superstar. Thank you very, very much. Oh, they come back for more. You've got a standing ovation again. Marlon, thank you so much, and thanks to your mum and dad. That's been wonderful. Been really, really super to see you all today. Thanks for supporting it. Can you do me a favour and tell all your friends to come on this weekend, whatever they're passionate about, not just musical instruments, but drawing, painting, dancing, anything. They don't have to do it, just come and tell us about it. Let's inspire the world, because Glastonbury this weekend normally is where the world looks for inspiration. It's where the world looks for creativity. It's where the world looks for people like you to move up to be the stars of tomorrow. And you're very lucky because you've got a mum and dad who support you, who encourage you. They put up with all the noise you must make, goodness me, but they know that one day you're going to be a star, and that's the important thing. So thank you all very, very much. Marlon, you've been wonderful, and you've been our first rock star on our main pyramid stage. Thank you all very much. Cheers guys, bye bye.
Bye, thank you.
Wow, how cool was that? How cool was that? Gosh, on our pyramid stage. On our pyramid stage, where it gets better than that actually, believe it or not. The pyramid stage that we built with cardboard tubes and toilet rolls and bits of cardboard. The cardboard stage that was built with imagination, was built with computer code, not cardboard, built by Dad Damon, who's done the coding, done all the programming, and we've just been told that we've got a video coming of a helicopter flying past this stage later on. So it's going to be absolutely amazing. All it needs is you. If anybody out there would like to come on and to do what Marlon's just done and have a little play, then they'd be very welcome. I need to move on swiftly now, so let me just close that and see if, where are we? So I am on 001 waiting for, who's next? Let's have a look. Malumba can pop that in there for me. John Chase is an amazing rapper because he raps about science and technology and art and creativity. He's brilliant. Where's his Skype, Malumba? Let's have a look. In fact, just get Malumba up. Let's have a look. Let's see if Malumba's around. Oh, no, here he is. John Chase is here. Let's get moving on. John Chase is in the house. One of the coolest people I've come across for a long, long time. Not that means much. Here he is. Here he is in the place. Hello, John. How are you?
Yeah, all good, man.
I'm going to chuck you up on this screen. Have you seen what we've been up to here? Have you seen any of this?
Yeah, I was just watching Marlon do extraordinarily well on the drums, man. How old is he?
He's year 2, so that will be about 8, is it, or something like that?
About 7.
6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Year 2.
He's doing well. Let me get you up on the
Great.
screen here. Hang on.
Yeah.
Why haven't I got you up yet? Hang on. Let's get you up on the screen. There you are.
Put us oldies to shame.
Do you know what I mean? So we met down at Camp Festival, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We definitely did. That was interesting. Random meet, but an awesome meet nonetheless.
All good. It's all good, wasn't it? I've seen you a few times down there. You do great stuff. And where are you at the moment? South Wales.
South Wales, Cardiff.
We've got a bit of a South Wales vibe going on today. Actually, we've got quite a few people. We've got a few people from a management company who are coming along later on. which I'm looking forward to because we've heard some good things about them. And I'm going to pop you up on. Let me have a put it over here. So what are you going to do? You're going to do a little piece for us. Some of the stuff that you do so well.
Just playing it by ear, man. Just for I'd come on, have a chat, whichever way you want to run it. Let's do it.
I'd love you. Would you mind doing a couple of little numbers for us? We've got about sort of 10 minutes or something like that. Would that work?
Yeah, that's cool. It might be that I'll have to play it from my computer and hope the sound works. So you'll have to let me know if that's working for you.
I'll be honest with you. I know that your vibes are 99% of it anyway. You know, so as long as there's something that keeps you in time, that's good. I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Let's do a quick check for this. Tell me if the sound comes through from this. Sounds low, doesn't it?
I can't hear anything on that, I must admit. It might be because it's the same. I'll tell you what it is. It's because it's the same computer you're on Skype, and what it does, it automatically drops the volume on any audio that's playing.
Okay, cool.
Can you pull it up on a phone or something?
Hey?
Can you pull it up on a phone?
Yeah, I was literally just doing that now. Okay, let me think. So Skype's doing that. Maybe I can. I was just trying to think if I could share the screen as well, what difference that would make. But then my mic, I'm guessing it would be lowered as well. The
trouble with that is we'd then lose your visual.
Oh, who wants to see me?
We do.
Got some sick visuals, man.
Good looking man. That's good. It's all good.
Right. Let me see if there's anything here I can just crank up the volume of, and see if I can get anything out of that. What's this? Come on now. No, that won't work. That won't work. Alright. I'm just have to find any old instrumental, which will do. But how are you doing anyway, mate? You put this together. It's pretty awesome.
We've built a whole TV studio, and we're just doing live events all summer. We've just done 3 months of it now. I just saw today 175 hours. It's been mad.
What? And who built that stage? Who built that stage?
The cardboard one.
Yeah.
A dad built it.
My word.
So hang on a second. Word. So you mean the CGI, yeah?
No, because you're saying there were some tubes. There were some tubes made and everything.
So don't tell anybody, but it's all fake. It's all computer graphics.
What? I feel so.
Did you see the flyby when we flew over it with the helicopter at the beginning? Did you see that bit?
No.
Have you got the screen on at the moment, or just got Skype on?
I got the screen on. So I'm watching both.
So you can see that. So I'll take it back to the top. Hold on, and you won't believe your eyes. This is just off the scale. So here we are. So this is me arriving at the school last night with a bit of drone footage. Check that out. That's all computer graphics.
So I'm on a delay now. So
you've got 8-second delay. It'll come. It'll come.
There we go.
Have you got it yet?
No, what I can see on my screen is me just clicked on my phone and then move back forward.
Oh,
I'm going to do something to give myself a sign.
So basically you need a second screen to view the output on YouTube or Facebook, but you can see it later on, don't worry. It's all good.
Ah, cool. I'm just counting the delay on my YouTube from what I've just done.
Oh, YouTube is very long. YouTube's about 8 seconds actually. No, YouTube's the
20
fastest.
20 seconds.
Is it 20? It's usually 8.
Yeah, I just counted it. I just done a little finger, a one finger, and then I counted the time. So 20 seconds.
Well, we got slammed on copyright this morning, so I don't know if they've upped the time to analyse our stuff a bit more.
Oh my gosh! So how are we gonna actually?
Is this copyright music? Is it? No.
I just got an instrumental because on my phone I don't have any of my stuff on my phone as such, or maybe I do. Hang on, I've never actually check that properly. Music. Maybe I do. You might be in luck. Let's see. Oh.
I could play music at this end if it's public domain stuff. I can play it back down to you.
Oh no! I've just absolutely found something.
As long as
so, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to talk about? Give me some words. Give me something to talk about, and I'll
I think for me, so that the theme today is that when you go to a festival like Glastonbury, everybody looks at the pyramid stage, Oasis and Jay-Z, whatever. But when you go to a festival like we do at Camp Festival, it's not main stage where the action is. The main stage is in those little corners, isn't it? And at the side stores and caravanserai and all that sort of stuff. So we've packed up. We think that the pyramid stage at Glastonbury is a beacon for creativity. It's a beacon to the world of what makes Britain great, and that's our art, because our art connects us. Art is creativity, it's tools, it's people like you coming together with rapping, with tech. And so we're trying to create an art gallery. We're trying to capture everybody's art, whatever it is, robots, rockets, painting, photography, cooking, coding, and we want to put it in a pyramid stage. And we're asking people to make pyramid stages today out of cardboard at home and to put little things in it and make their own little collections, their own little art galleries. So really the pyramid stage is the world's biggest art gallery this weekend, full of our art, because it's by us, for us, with us. It's my Glastonbury, it's your Glastonbury, it's our Glastonbury. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a sense of ownership and collectivism and community, really.
All right, let me see what I come up with.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna press play and start rapping.
Go for it.
Off the top of my head about whatever we got. Okay. Let's see if you can got this. No, I'm gonna do a different beat. Can you hear that?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm feeling the beat when I've come on the stage up in Glastonbury, and it's all good. And you can feel it, kids. You can go up on the stage, it's the pyramids, and we got culture. Something for the future, and if you like it, something you might be used to. And come on, please don't depart when we're listening to the music and adding the art. It's the community, and if you feel the beat it used to be the rhythm when we hit the street. And it's good when you hear a little music on the main stage, but don't forget about the people on the other page, the in the backgrounds on the other venues in the other place. And I forget to send you an instrumental as I make it up off the top of my head, and I'm crazy with this stuff. So I gotta say, yo, my mind thinks quick, but I gotta big up this man. His name is Nick, and it's good. It's coming straight to you. It's your Glasgow, yeah, up in the venue or outside or inside, wherever you reside. It's all good. Just we do it from the morning to the night. I don't know what's been going on, and still I devour beats, and this has been going on for maybe half an hour. I need thoughts put together. I think of these words, and I still endeavor. It's all clever. When I think about the striving and people on the place here, I hope that you're arriving. You got a mix of art with yourself. Put it all together because it's good for your health. And if you can express yourself on the stage, it's time for you to come across and feel amazed. It's all good. And I know it's your Glasgow. Yeah, come in if you've got the guts. So my name is Johnny Taser or Piper. I hope it sounds good. Yeah, #1 striker.
Wow, that went down well. You smashed it. First rap act on the pyramid stage without anybody moaning. Fantastic. You are so clever. You're going to do this one more? You got another one up your sleeve?
Yeah, I think I might do one of the science ones.
Yeah, good vibes. It's interesting, you know, John, because a lot of people give it this STEM versus STEAM, whatever, and I don't give a damn for acronyms. You know, it's about creativity and doing what's your passion, following it, you know, and making it as interesting as possible. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, do you know, it's kind of weird because like when I heard about the STEAM thing, I'm like, I get why everyone pushes the different areas that need to be pushed. So like arts is very important because I think people forget the importance of the arts in the world around us and everything we do. But I think also there is some value in understanding that some people like science, some people are into technology. For example, I studied engineering and I didn't realize how much of a scientist I wasn't compared to a lot of scientists out there. My approach to things were find ways to fix a problem. You didn't have to do it in one specific way. If it worked, it worked. And with an engineer's perspective, you've got many ways to solve a problem, and a lot of it is art. Like when you have to draw a picture and you have to make a plan, you have to use art. It's the same thing, but although it's specific art, as in you need to tell someone, it's like instructions rather than my version of things. Even though as an engineer, you still put across your version. So I think art and STEM and everything's inseparable.
It's interesting because for me, we define art as whatever we call it when what we do connects us to somebody else. So your art is something you're passionate about, something that you're good about. So it's not just painting, it could be photography, it could be cooking, coding, robots, rockets, dancing, DJing, design, all these things. We've got to help kids be passionate about something and find their passion, find their love, make some money, make some friends, maybe even make the world a better place. That's what art's all about, as far as we're concerned, each to their own. I'm an engineer, I did electrical engineering, it's creative problem solving. It's the key of science and art, isn't it? Come on, John, smash it again. Come on, smash us.
All right, here we go. So this is a rap about getting a better view of stuff. Check the video out on YouTube. You can check me out on YouTube. It's Ortkuiper, Oortkuiper. And you can see all of my raps about science, because that's what I do. I'm a science rapper, in case anyone was wondering. I rap about science and I'm a science communicator. So I talk about science. So this rap is all about how science and technology and engineering and maths, etc., gives us a better view of the universe, the world, and ourselves in 3 different verses. So this is a better view. Here we go. Okay. Can you hear all right?
Yeah, it's all good. All good.
Okay, and check out the video on YouTube. The universe is the oldest thing that we know. It started in a huge expansion many years ago. The heat was so intense that mostly photons through the show, but everything was cooling as the space began to grow. Eventually, the particles cooled into atoms of hydrogen and helium, dispersing out random. Some of them gathered under gravity's attraction, becoming the stars of the galaxy's mansion. The number of inhabitants, numbers in the billions. Each star's size, mass, and temperature is different. Our star has a family we call a solar system. The planets and the moons and even rings going around them. The bigger outer planets are all mostly made of gas. There's asteroids, comets, and giant clouds of dust. The rocky planet Mars gets its color from rust, and it's half the size of Earth without the liquid on its crust. We left Earth's cradle, landed on the moon, put satellites in orbit and other worlds too, looking through the lenses to get the better view of the things that are distant or really minute. There's nanotechnology, robots en route, and silicon chips helping us to compute as the world spins round and round and round through the days. The future, it's all up to you. Life in the universe, everything in cycles, days into seasons, years into lifetimes. Birth is the start point, death is at the end line, but everything decays as we move forward in time. Earth is a system that's always in motion, mixing up the elements and causing commotion. Volcanic lava flows caress the oceans, the coastline shaped by the force of erosion. The Earth's environment is perfect for life, containing all the elements we need to survive. Life thrives in the oceans, soars through the skies, whilst land-loving animals avoid eagle eyes. Many life forms disappeared through mass extinctions, caused by an ice age or comet's collision. But for all of the survivors who are still in existence, their genes are a record of them traveling the distance. We left Earth's cradle, landed on the moon, put satellites in orbit of other worlds too, looking through the lenses to get a better view of the things that are distant or really minute. There's nanotechnology, robots en route, and silicon chips helping us to compute as the world spins round and round and round through the days. The future is all up to you. The cleverest life form on Earth's humankind put the rising population on a graph. See it climb? Our towns are illuminated, so are the skies. The familiar nights are brightened by the amber lights. Petroleum extracted by the work of nodding donkeys. But we should make use of more renewable energy. Electricity is vital to modern society. It's sent along the pylons and stored up in batteries. In the laboratories where science is embedded, many different particles are scattered and deflected. Using MRI scans, your brain is detected, or with a broken bone, an X-ray is recommended. We know that bacteria is the way we get infected, and how our inner bodies are so wonderfully connected. The bones and the muscles and the skin that surrounds it has given us the form that we all walk around in. To leave Earth's cradle, landing on the moon, putting satellites in orbit of other worlds too, looking through the lenses to get a better view of the things that are distant or really minute. There's nanotechnology, robots en route, and silicon chips helping us to compute. As the world spins round and round and round through the days, the future is all up to you. And you. Yeah, and you and all of you. So that was a better view. You can check out the video. It's got amazing images and imagery from the Science Photo Library. So yeah, go and check it out. Go and check me out. Catch me on Twitter, Insta, and everywhere else. Just put in OORTKUIPER.
Great to see you again, John. Thank you so much for dropping by.
No worries, Nick. All the best of it.
We're doing a camp festival weekend actually at the end of July.
Oh, yep.
We're doing a virtual one of these down there. You know the Art Town they have down there, the big tent called Art Town?
Yeah.
Well, Rob the Bank's given us that to run.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to try and do something. And so we're going to do it's an Art Town takeover basically. So we're going to redefine art as not just paint and cardboard, but a bit of everything. So we'll give it a shout. Okay, well, thank you so much for that. Lovely to see you again. You take care, yeah?
You too, mate. Take all the best.
See you now. Bye-bye. Love to see you. Cheers. There you go. Whew. John Chase's real name, Kuiper. You can find him, OOTKUIPER, science rapper, just fantastic. We're now doing something about reading in books, actually, which is fantastic. Romina Akhtar from first primary up there in Birmingham. I can't see. Let's have a look. So I've got to go and jump somewhere else and tell you what I'm going to do. I need to save that image as a graphic. So and it shuts the system down when I do this. So let me just do this. So capture image target storage. Put that in 5, and the input is 3. We're back. We are back, and we're waiting for. Here we go. So Romina is here, and she can introduce the other lady. If Malumba can put those details in both Skypes, that'd be great. There we go. Let's get Romina on. So this is a talk around reading and the importance of reading with children, the role and importance of libraries in schools. And here we go. Turn your screen around that way. Here we go. Hello Romina.
Hi, Nick.
I'm going to put you up on the screen. Oh. Fantastic. Have you got the 2 screens or just the 1 screen?
I've got the 2 screens.
So you'll see yourself in about 20 seconds by the sound of it. It sounds like there's a bit of a delay on YouTube. Can you position your head a little bit better? We've got lots of shoulder there.
We haven't got any chair and table space in our house at the moment, so struggling.
You could maybe
trying to get it right. Is that a bit better?
Not much. No, we've got your teeth. Good job. You've got good teeth. That's all I can say.
Oh no! Hang on. Let me try to just do it better.
Can you see yourself on the screen?
I can see myself on the screen.
So just center it so that you're and the thing to do is to look at where the camera is and not at the screen. So
okay.
Even that feels a bit odd, and you've slipped a bit high and you're a little bit too much on the. You need to go left a little bit if you can.
Okay.
Oh, that's it. Oh, you're getting good at this now. A little bit lower. Sit a little bit lower, and then we've got you. That is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Now, you are now, believe it or not, you're on the pyramid stage at Glastonbury at the Your Glasto event. How does that feel?
That's fantastic.
And you're in.
Not anything I imagined I'd ever be doing.
You're in Birmingham at the moment, I believe, aren't you?
I am.
And you're in first primary.
I am. I'm the librarian at First Primary School. So I've been there for 2 years, going on 2 years now.
We've had some good times there, haven't we?
We have.
Tell everybody what happened. Tell everybody what happened the last time we rocked up just before Christmas. Can you remember that?
Yeah, so we had that wonderful rocket launch again at the end of the day, which I managed to see this time because I'd missed out on the last one, which was great. We also had lots of singing, lots of arts going on as well throughout the school. It was a special creativity day that we'd had.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, so that was great having you guys come down.
It's funny because you talk about the rocket launch, but I think was Ant from Standing Ovation there that day. Was that the day you're talking about when he did the assembly whenever he was singing?
That's right, Standing Ovation.
It was brilliant. And then I got those.
Which really helped the music.
Say again.
Sorry, I was saying it was having that music and having all it. It was just such a buzz about the school that day with Standing Ovation being there, and the kids had loved. Loved having Ant there as well.
Ant is absolutely fantastic, does great work, and then we got that van with the video screen on, and we had a bit of a Stormzy moment, didn't we, as well? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
Brilliant. It's fun actually because you talk about rockets, and a lot of the work we do about the art of rockets, just firing rockets, making rockets, doing the talk and the assembly, which I know I've done before. I know that was something that connected us really, the power of a good book and getting children reading with their parents. Tell us,
yes,
give us a few thoughts about the importance of reading and some tips and advice for parents who want their kids to be the best but aren't going to be sending them to a private school in a hurry.
Okay, so with reading, the great thing about reading is that it does spur on your imagination, and I'm hugely passionate about fiction books. Obviously, with the fiction text, we are then able to imagine a whole new world. What I love about it is that when you think about when we're watching TV, you know, it's all there for us. But with the books, it ignites our imagination, allows us to then talk, to think about what's been written on the page, and then have our own view of those characters and completely take over. That's what books do for me. Going back to the creativity day, what we did was with a lot of the books. Now we with the books, you can use them to do so many activities. So we've been reading Wildspark, which is a great book when we're talking about STEM. So we have in Wildspark, they go to a guild and they build what they call is persona fate, and they put the souls of people who have passed on, people who have died, into a machine. What we then did was we designed our own persona fates. So there's so much you can do with books. With so many of the books that we read, we do so many activities around them, and it just sparks your imagination and allows you to think about what you can then create yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, you got some books there, have you?
No, I was just going to show you. I've got some examples of persona fates that we created on Creativity Day. I'm afraid picture's probably not that great, but we've got here someone's created a flying cat. It was the design with the persona fates. What they do is they have to have a purpose when they come back to life. They need to have a purpose. So with that one, there was we've also got a scientist. So this is a fox that's been designed that has tails that allows it to spin and fly, so that it can do its science work all over the world.
These are inventions, are they?
Places.
Fantastic.
We've got these are great ones. We've got another one which is so he's actually for mining. It's for mining purposes. So it's a dragon that flies, but its wings actually turn into drills to fly off. So we have loads of creative activities that we do around the books that we read, which is really important, like I say, because it ignites their imagination, allows them to really take off in their own world.
Brilliant. And did you have another guest? We had another guest that you invited along today, didn't we, as well?
Alison should be here as well.
Let's see if we can get her on. Just 1 second. Right. Hang on a second. Just get her email address here. Yep, I've got that. Why isn't that connecting? Hang on a second. There she is. Okay, Alison, I'm coming to you now. Right, connecting to Alison. Hello, Alison. Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, I can. Can
Hello,
you hear me?
I can. Sorry to keep you. We're having gosh, it's head over heels day today, but that's festivals for you, you know. Just got to go with the flow, really. Your head's a little bit low on the screen there, Alison. If you can get your screen just a little bit higher.
Yeah.
What I was going to do, actually, because Ramina's just invited you on. Can I just leave you to sort of chat amongst yourselves around the general reading and the importance of literacy and school libraries? Could we do that? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had a chat between us.
Go
so
for it.
That should be fine.
Go for it. I'll leave you to it for a minute.
Yeah, Alison. So we're just talking about how we've been using books in the library to create lots of different activities, which is something easy that parents can do at home as well, because the books that you read create so much imagination in our children and then allow them to go on and do their own activities. One of the great ones that we've been doing lately is through mystery books. So I've got some mystery books here.
Mm-hmm.
Really popular one at the moment is Anisha, Accidental Detective. We've got Mike Drop, which is the second in the High Rise mystery series. And with those is then they try and be detectives themselves. And as you're reading with your children, it's great to then try and become detective yourself and work out the mystery before the mystery finished.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think it's really good to kind of get the children interacting with the books in that way. It kind of makes it so much more applicable to each child, and they can kind of take the bits that apply to them and roll with it. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying to Nick that obviously the difference between watching it on TV and having the books to read with your children is that it ignites their imagination, and then you own that book, you own that the whole, you have that all in your imagination, and then you can completely bring that to life yourself, whereas it's already done for you when they're watching it on TV, which is why it's so important for imagination and creativity really when you're reading books.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it builds in a lot of interaction and a lot of different layers. And I think that's what I love about reading, is that two people can read the same book, and it can they can take away different things from the same text, because it allows every reader to develop the text in their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right there. And the other thing I was just thinking about when we were listening to the author that we were listening to just now, who was doing the spoken word about the science. We've done a lot of that as well in the library with spoken word books. So things like Long Way Down, a lot of the poetry books that we're doing a lot of A.F. Harold poetry as well in the library. And then the children just completely take that on themselves, and then they start, doing spoken word about things that they love. A lot of it's been about school actually, which has been really nice. So there's been a lot of spoken word poems about school. So yeah, they take it on themselves and then become creative through those books themselves.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I love, and you're talking about poetry there, is the fact that sometimes the less words there are, the more room there is for that growth and that development of their own kind of personality and attitudes. And so one of the books that I have, it is a proof copy, so the actual cover doesn't look like this, but it's Gloves Off by Louisa Reed, and it's 12 plus, it's hard hitting, it's punchy, and it's entirely in verse. And I will just and it's so great because it allows all of that space to grow. The lack of words enables it gives you more space to fill the book.
Absolutely, and it gives them that scope to then go on themselves and to do their own poetry and to be creative in that way themselves as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, one of the things that we see from things like 500 Words and the analysis that the Oxford University Press does of those stories shows how much children are actually taking in and engaging with the things they come across them. And so one of my other really books that I just absolutely love is Poems from a Green and Blue Planet, which has got lovely cover on there. And it's just a collection of books that travels around the world. And I'll just read a little bit from the cover. But it says, explore all the worlds that make up our world and hear the voices past and present that sing out from it. And I just think that's a lovely concept. So, yeah, a book I'd very much recommend for thinking about climate and cultures and how we all fit together.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. I was going to say, the other thing that we've been doing is targeting, obviously, children who have specific interests. So what we do is sort of like the balloon debate. So when we talk about famous characters in history and stuff like that. So for Black History Month, we did a lot of, we discussed who our favourite characters were in history. You know, obviously we have Martin Luther King's and Harriet Tubman's, and we discussed those. But what we're moving on to doing as well, talking about, you know, your modern heroes. So your footballers. So we've got the Football Superstars books, which are great for children who are really into sports, and you know they think that books don't apply to them, but actually when they get reading through those, and let me just show you the inside of those books, full of facts, but it's got lots of pictures in, lots of fun facts that the children can easily relate to, and then they discuss and then they have a debate about who they're who they think actually deserves to be thrown out of the balloon. So the balloon debate is where, you know, you have figures in a balloon, you have characters in a balloon, and then you say you have to fight your argument for not throwing them out of the hot air balloon. So that's something that the children really enjoy doing as well. And that's something that can easily be done if you're looking at non-fiction texts as well with your children.
Amazing. I think information books are so important, and one of the things I really love is the fact that there's been a real resurgence in information books recently, and over the past couple of years it's kind of really grown and developed, and I think it's lovely, and it's a shame. I hear from a few kind of schools who've just got rid of their information book collections entirely because they think, oh, you know, we've got the internet now, we don't need them. And I think that's just it's really misleading actually, and it makes life really hard for certain children because some children just engage so much more with information books. And I mean, the SLA does an award for an information book every year. And this year it's in its 10th year, and I can tell you that over that time we have celebrated a huge range of different information books for children. And there's 3 different categories. So you've got 7 and under, 8 to 13, and then 13 to 16. And the shortlist this year is absolutely stunning. I know that some people may think I'm slightly biased, but it arrived to me in the middle of lockdown, and I had to go through it and take pictures for some of the publicity we were going to do. And you know, I think this period has been quite challenging for everyone, but sitting there with all of these amazing books has been absolutely stunning, and it really it was a mood changer for me. And I also think that information books can be really good at the moment because they deliver so much in terms of interaction and engagement, and also that knowledge that children need. Some of them about about things which they might not learn about in school. So one of the books on our shortlist is all about the moon and phases of the moon, and it looks at the myths. There's one which I think is again going to be quite important at the moment, which is all about feelings. There's a dictionary of difficult words, and Amazing Africa, which looks at all the different, some of the different cultures within Africa and within the different countries in Africa. And it's so bold and colourful and beautiful. It's a lovely text. And I think it is, you know, we should celebrate information books for children a lot more than we do.
Absolutely. And go back to what you're saying about some schools thinking that it's that we've got Google now and that's it, but they forget that I think as parents as well, sometimes we forget that there's just such a wealth of information out there that it's for a child to try and hone in on what it is that they're looking for. It's not always easy, and where if you've got that text, say if you want to learn about Africa, I mean, Africa is such a vast continent, the amount of information you pull up if you were just to Google it, it's crazy. But, looking at that book, and then the illustrations, it is a beautiful book. I do absolutely love that Amazing Africa book. But as I say, it's books that they need to try and get that, to extract that information, because with Google, it is just so wide. It's just open for you to, it's just too much, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I this might be quite dated now, so I don't know what the stats are now. But a couple of years ago, I came across a bit of research that said only 6% of the information on the internet is for educational purposes. And so if you look at things from the point of view of a child, that's a huge amount of space that you need to navigate before you can actually get to what you need. And I think one of the things that is really overlooked is the fact that using the internet requires background knowledge already. If you don't know anything about a topic, it is very, very difficult to find what you need. So one of my key examples is a real example from a colleague, and their child was taught to go and find out about, which is a phrase personally I hate, to go and find out about Valentine's Day. So, of course, they put Valentine's Day into Google, and what comes up? Hallmark, buy a Valentine's Day card, all of those websites. You've got to get through all of the commercial ones. And without proper scaffolding, you don't know what the other keywords are to put in to get the result that you need. And it's something that a lot of school libraries do work on, and it can start really young, just thinking about kind of keywords and what the purpose of websites are, and it's those core information literacy skills that are just so important.
Absolutely. And those skills, when they've not been taught from a young age, which I found with my son actually, when he's been doing his research, it's something that I've had to teach him. It's not something that's always necessarily taught in schools, which is something that I think parents need to be wary of as well. That it's not as much as we think, oh, we'll Google it, it's the answer. It's there is a whole lesson that needs to be learned in how we Google things if we're looking for information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are a lot of skills that cross over as well. So people seem to make it a really binary choice between skills for books and skills for the internet. And actually there are concepts that you use in both. So things like using information books to look at the contents page and the index and what a definition is. And then when you're teaching someone how to effectively use a search engine, it's about what is the keyword that you would look for in an index, because that's what you need to put into the Google search or the other search engine. And so, I think it's as much about the discussion, and books did come first. They're kind of the foundation for how to effectively use the internet. And it's not a binary choice. You would use different information sources for different purposes. And that's kind of what, when you're looking at A-level or GCSE age children, that's kind of what I say. Actually, it's not about this or this. It's about what am I trying to do and what's the best way to get there. Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, for parents who are looking at working with their children at home as well during this lockdown period and during the summer holidays that we've got, it's about explaining to them how to, access the correct websites as well, and not to always just expect that the first thing that comes up is going to be what you actually require. Because we have had children well at school who, you've set them a task, and then they come up with the first website that they come up with. They start, copying and pasting from that, when actually it's completely irrelevant to what they've been, asked to research. So absolutely, lesson in learning that. Yeah, and I think that choice between kind of information and fiction books, again, is made to appear to be very binary, but it's not, you know, one of my books that I absolutely love is called Codename Verity, and it's a YA, so it's for young adult readers, but it's set in World War II, and actually you pick up an awful lot of the details of that time. And I think one of the things that regardless of whether it's an information book or a fiction book, one of the things that books can do is to push across the impact on the person in a way that some details just don't, some internet sources just don't, and it kind of makes it a much more kind of real situation, and I would definitely recommend Codename Verity to anyone who's interested in a book with an emotional roller coaster. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Historical fictions are great for a great source actually of getting information, but enjoying just that emotion that you would feel at the time of those events taking place. So yeah, that is a really good point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're looking at the moment and we're talking about a lot more is the kind of emotional impact that this period is having, because everyone's normality has changed, and I think there are a lot of books out there that that can help kind of open up these discussions at home. So Roddy Doyle, Greyhound of a Girl, is a lovely book for kind of 8 to 12, I would say, and it's one story. It's fairly short, and it covers 4 generations of women in the same family, and it's just a very powerful kind of way to talk about how you're feeling and how you're approaching certain things as well, which I think, as we're all living in kind of slightly more contained spaces and not able to socialize with the people you may want to, it's a really good way of opening up discussions about different generations and what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking at younger children as well, there's so many picture books out there, the wealth of picture books out there that can also do that. So one that I've used with my own daughter a lot as well actually is Ruby's Worry, because my daughter hears this word coronavirus and that's it, that's all she talks about at the moment. Oh, she can't go in the car because of coronavirus. It's using Ruby's Worry and books like that to help children understand what they're feeling and to understand how to deal with those feelings as well. So yeah, there are a wealth of books out there to help parents with that as well.
Definitely. One of the ones that I've been waiting for with anticipation is called The Proudest Blue, and it's published by Anderson, and it's a picture book, and it's visually stunning, and I think it's just such a powerful, incredible story. I think it should be in every school, to be honest. I think it's going to be, amazing.
Yeah, that's by who's that by? Ibtihaj Muhammad, is it? Who wrote that?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, absolutely right. Going back to dealing with the current situation of lockdown, and I was talking to a few of our students online the other day, just about how reading can also be such an escape. Being stuck at home without your friends, and it is difficult. It's certainly been difficult for me, so I imagine it's difficult for so many of our children as well. Not being able to socialise with your friends, but getting lost in a book has been like therapy for me, to be honest with you. At the beginning I struggled to read, but where I've got back into reading again, and reading a book and just escaping into another world and escaping just the reality of just being stuck inside, it's been great for my mental health. So yeah, it's something that really helps adults and children alike.
Definitely. I also had a reading slump. I was kind of struggling with all of the impact of lockdown, and my reading fell off a cliff entirely. But graphic novels and illustrated books just really helped me just to get back into the flow of it. And I've got some brilliant adventure books here. So I'm going to start with Ghost Boys. So again, this is a proof copy, so the cover is different, but this is an amazing story that just really transports you and makes you think about things in quite a different way. And then one of my personal favourites it's a tome. But here it is. It's Skullduggery Present. So this is the latest one in the series, and this was one of those lockdown days that was really lovely. And I am lucky enough to have a garden, and I went and sat in the garden in the shade because pale, and I read it in one sitting. And
wow, hang on, whoa. Show us how thick that book is.
Sorry.
Show us how thick that. Good Lord, you read that in a day?
Yeah. It's
wow.
really good.
That's amazing.
It's really good.
Incredible. Guys, yeah. I hate to say it, we were running a bit late and I'm going to have to, I've got somebody who really does need to get on now, but it's been brilliant are you guys in contact on a regular basis normally, or is this a rare chance to speak?
Not really. On Twitter, I follow Alison a lot on Twitter. I love listening to
I follow that.
And that way.
It's been
I do go to conferences and things to hear her speak because she's great.
So you've basically blagged your way in to have a chat with one of your literary heroes, have you, Romina? Is that your dastardly technique, is it? Well, thank you both so much. And I think that's what this is all about.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been great.
It's been lovely to hear from you. I think it's about these little connections and chances to have a conversation. And I know that a few people will fall upon this, they'll chat to this, and they'll pick something up from that. So it's time well spent. I'm very grateful to you both for coming. And to you particularly, Romina, for your hard work in the school there. I know it's never going to be an easy job, and that's why it's called a job. Give my regard to your school community leader, David Shakeshaft, because he's a super friend and a superman and a great leader. And our country needs you guys never more than we do at the moment. So thank you for all you do, and thank you both for your work with getting our children reading and inspired and loving learning and loving reading. Bye bye now. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hope to see you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Wow. Well, there you go. That's some lovely little chat about reading and literacy and librarians. I'm going to jump pretty quickly on, actually, because I've got somebody very special lined up here, who is interesting sort of context, really, the careers context of careers and creativity and creative careers. And he's not online. Okay, Nick is not online. Let's have a look. That's typical, isn't it? Not I don't mean typical of him by any means. Is it working now? Oh, here he is. Turn your screen round. And we are live and direct. And I'm going to do a bit of button pressing here, because okay. How are we doing? Let's have a 1 2 1 2 sound check.
1 2 1 2.
That sounds like somebody checked. I think we're going to go live with this young man here. Actually, let me just press the right buttons before I go too far. This is a man who's pressed more buttons than I have at stages at Glastonbury. So he's sitting there all. Talk about no pressure. Let's get him in the right spot, and let's press that button there. And on the pyramid stage is a chap called Nick Hawkes. Nick Hawkes, make a noise. Say something.
Greetings. How are you, man?
We're good, actually. We're good. We're hot. I tell you what, I don't know where you are, but it's a hot one.
Ooh. I'm in the office and I'm absolutely sweltering. So I might literally just melt into a pool of stuff. But hopefully we'll manage to speak for a bit before I completely turn into liquid.
I'm glad it's not just me. I'm in a situation I can't actually open the windows because my neighbours are getting fed up of my blaring all this nonsense out the window. So we've got a yard there. I've got an air conditioning unit. I haven't had the time to get out, but it's all good. So Nick, do us a favour. Just do the little elevator pitch. Just tell everybody who you are, what you do, without the career. Just like one sentence. You're in the old elevator. Go for it. And in fact, this session is for young people who want some tips, want some tricks for getting into the creative industries. Nick works in the music business, but all you young people are going to get asked one day, so tell me about you. And that's called an elevator pitch. So let's put pressure on Nick Hawkes. Nick Hawkes, give us your elevator pitch.
All right, so I'm a manager in the music industry these days, primarily. And the area of music that I focus on is dance and electronic. I historically have run record labels, so started up XL Recordings and then Positiva, and then a label called Incentive. So many years of working in the record side of the business, signing artists, putting out records, having hits, and developing artists. And I've been fortunate. I've had quite a few successes over the years with artists as diverse as The Prodigy and Reel to Reel, and Adam F, and there's quite a long list, I guess, of artists that I've worked with. And yeah, currently I manage Liam Howlett of The Prodigy, Renee LeVice, who's a Radio 1 DJ and also a producer in the drum and bass area, and as well as managing artists, I do a few other things. I run a brand called Reach Up Disco Wonderland, which is kind of touring disco, essentially cool disco music, for want of a better name. And I also have a podcast which is called Trailblazers Electronic Pioneers, and that's myself and Eddie Temple Morris in conversation with legends of the game like Fatboy Slim and Goldie and Gary Newman. And then finally, Nick, I also do one-to-one kind of consultancy with developing artists, helping them to meet their aspirations and to break through in the music industry. So maybe a little bit longer than the elevator pitch you were hoping for. We've got quite a few floors there, but
you're all good.
There's quite a lot to talk about.
You're all good. And I'm going to hit you with two now, really, because you talk about the music consultancy, and I hate to say it, mate, but this is all free. You know, we're not. We need some free consultancy off you tonight. And I think the first question that any young person is going to say to you after an elevator pitch like that is, how on earth did you get into this game? Because you don't sound like a posh kid. You sound a little bit down these way, a bit West Country. And I think there's a link back to the length of your elevator pitch there, because that wasn't sort of John Lewis up to the 11th floor. That was Empire State Building up to 120. And I think that's possibly part of your story. So Nick, come on, hit us up on your story and how you got into this game, Nick.
Yes, well, I was lucky in that probably when I was about 13 or 14, the music industry really kind of grabbed me rather than the other way around, or music, let's say, not the music industry. When I was 13 or 14, I just fell in love with music. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people who end up working in the music industry, that rather than choosing to go into the music industry because they think, there's stable career prospects here, and there's a good career development, stable career development opportunity. It's not like that. People don't go into the music industry thinking that. What tends to happen is that they find that they love music. They either love being in a band or singing, performing, making records, or hosting parties, or whatever it is, and then the passion for that carries through, and you keep doing stuff that you believe in and that you're interested in and that you enjoy, and then eventually it turns into a career, or it can turn into a career. And that was the case with me. So I started off running mobile discos as a teenager, helping out at hospital radio. I then worked as an intern at WBLS in New York. I blagged my way in there, basically, under the auspices of going in and interviewing the guy who ran the radio station. And I did the interview with the guy that ran the radio station. And then he said, "What are you doing in the rest of the time that you are based in New York?" And I said, "I'm going to be working as a cinema usher in the evenings, and then in the daytime I'm hoping to find a job helping out, work experience at a record label or a radio station." And he said, "Oh, okay, interesting." And then a member of his team showed me around the station, and then they asked me when I was back in the programming area, "Nick, can you help us file these records and to answer the phones?" Which I did. And then at the end of that, they said, "What are you doing at tomorrow? And I said, oh, nothing. And they said, oh, do you want to come round at 10 a.m. tomorrow and help us again? And I sort of went, wow. Well, I could do. And they said, well, yeah, come round, because you're hired as our new intern if you want to be. So that was a big break for me, Nick. And then, yeah, I guess then since then I moved up to London. I was at London at that point that happened, rather. I was in my break between my second and third year of uni. And then just while I was at university, I kept doing things that would help me, running clubs, and became the UK representative for an American record label. And so it went on. I just did a lot of stuff that I thought was going to be interesting and educational and that would help me. And eventually it kind of gathered momentum.
Wow, full on. So that's quite a journey. And for me, I think if I was to put my finger on this, it's twofold. It's creating opportunities for yourself and seizing them. Would you say that's part of it? That tenacity, that energy?
Yes, I would. I would indeed. I would definitely creating opportunities. Or if you can't technically create an opportunity, put yourself in an environment where there's more chance of an opportunity arising. How about that? Because if
spot on, mate, absolutely spot on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is, you can't make your own luck in the sense that you cannot force luck to happen. Sometimes it just won't. But what you can do is put yourself in environments where you're a bit more likely for luck to happen. So if tonight your decision is, am I going to stay at home on the sofa and watch some episodes of Game of Thrones or whatever on Netflix, or am I going to spend an hour or two listening to different radio stations, looking at different band profiles on their social media, scanning to see if there's stuff that I like, that I can get excited by, interacting with people, reaching out to the DJ on the pirate radio station or the local radio station. If he plays a record that you're into, oh, hey man, really great record. What is that track? Love the show. Oh, glad that you enjoyed it. The track is such and such. Good. Then you've got a little bit of a rapport already rolling with somebody who's maybe DJing on a local community station or something, and then maybe that can lead into, hey, I don't suppose you ever need anybody to help out at this local radio station, do you? And then you might get an email back saying, no, we don't. Or you never know, maybe that person will go, well, actually we do sometimes, speak to this person, and then you're possibly up and running.
It's funny you say that. I remember actually, I've just completely lost that. I was just thinking, actually, two things came into my head, and then somebody walked into the room. One day I remember being at a party and Greg Wilson was DJing and carrying his reel-to-reels downstairs. He's not stupid, I tell you, because that's heavy kit to be humping around. The other thing I was going to say to you, actually, you got that break at BLS in New York, and a lot of people might sit here now and look at you, successful in the music business, urban dance, techno, electronica, all that sort of stuff, instantly think, white guy done good, that wasn't hard. Could you have done what you did if you were black? Possibly, because there's a lot of conversation around this at the moment. Yet ironically, you were a white guy blagging a job in a black music station.
Yes. That's correct.
And that's occurred to you before, I presume, has it? It's quite poignant.
I've been aware that I wasn't the natural candidate to end up interning at WBLS, a young white British kid at New York's premier black music station. So I wasn't the natural candidate for that gig. And remember, I didn't even know that there was a gig available. I didn't even know that they were looking for an intern until I happened to turn up and kind of, be in the right place at the right time. I suppose that experience told me that even if something is unlikely to happen, and I think looking back on that experience, it is unlikely that a young British kid would get that opportunity. That opportunity came about because I did show a bit of initiative, little bit of blag. It's not unfair to say that there was an element of blag there. I mean, remember, I didn't just go, hey, can I apply for an internship? I said, hey, can I interview the head of the radio station? And I must admit, at the point that I asked to interview the head of the radio station, I didn't actually have a particular magazine or anything in mind to write it up. I didn't really expect the interview to happen. But then when he said, yes, sure, come on in, I'll be happy to be interviewed, that was when all of a sudden I actually was writing an article. So, I think, I'd like to think that a bit of initiative, a bit of drive, creativity, big important word for you and your organisation, is needed. And then many small kind of nudges every day over the years, many years. Now to this day, when I'm working with developing artists, it's not all about the one big enormous break that happens, the magic song that comes in and getting signed to that big deal. It's more about every day pushing forward with this, with that, with a little email there, a comment there, writing a song there, going to see somebody there, sending a message there. And, hundreds and hundreds of small little steps all add up and increase the chances of those big moments happening.
Absolutely. I'm from a little country town, not dissimilar to you. And there are times when I kind of go home and people say to me, oh, you're lucky you are, because they perceive that I've had a great time. It's been a lot of hard work. But I always say you don't get lucky sat at home watching Sky Sports. You know what I mean?
No. Well, this is true, unless your dream is to be a Premiership footballer, and as well as doing the work, the coaching and the training, you go, I'm going to make it my business to watch every match that Messi has ever played in, and I'm going to watch how he reacts in every situation, when he's got the ball on the edge of the box, when it's coming in from a corner. Now maybe then that can help you to get lucky, because you're building up the hours of experience and knowledge in your field. But for most people, no, you're not gonna get lucky just sat at home watching the telly. You need to work and keep working and keep rolling the dice.
You've got to get out there, and in a way, I sometimes think it's never been easier. It's harder, but it's never been harder. But it's never been easier. I mean, people see things like Twitter and Instagram as mass media platforms, but in fact, it's a one-to-one communication if you say something relevant at the right time to somebody. I remember going to the Electric Ballroom. I don't know if you ever went to those full tilt nights that Jay Strongman used to do back in the day. I was there for New Year's Eve, and I actually wrote him a letter. I used to do a thing in the NME every week, drop the bomb or something, and I wrote him a letter. What was that song you played at midnight? And he told me, and I wrote him a letter at the NME, and he wrote me a 4-page letter back full of tunes.
Oh wow! Amazing.
I mean, you're lucky now if you get a sort of grunt off somebody, but it's those nuggets. It's bothering to do it, isn't it? And I think it comes down to the generosity of the individual. I know you're very generous. Tell us about the kind of coaching work you do. And I know that's a paid service, and so it should be, because you've got to make a living. Your artists are getting the vast percentage of your work. But tell us about how that works, and how young people might consider working with somebody like you, or even just seeing what people do with somebody like you and learning from that, because there's a lot of self-learning to be done these days, isn't there? I think.
Yeah. So there's two things there. The easier approach is what you called self-learning. That's basically, if you want to have success as an artist, making it your business to study the stories of successful people, of people who've had careers that you would like to replicate in some shape or form, and learning what they did. How did they do it? What did they do? Did they upload videos to YouTube, or did they just start releasing stuff under their own steam, or did they not do any of that? And did they develop their music sort of behind closed doors until it got to a really strong point, and then they started going public with it? I mean, there's various different routes that artists can take. So on the self-learning thing, there's some tremendous resources out there, and I'm going to recommend a few. if you're a songwriter or an artist, there's a very good podcast called Soda Jerker on songwriting, and that's a podcast which interviews songwriters talking about the process of songwriting. How did great hits come about? What was the process to create those hits? It's a very good one. I, without sounding arrogant or whatever, I do think that the podcast that myself and Eddie Temple Morris run has some great anecdotes, is a great resource. So this is called Trailblazers, Electronic Pioneers. And you don't have to be an electronic artist to learn from this podcast, because a lot of what the artists talk about applies in all genres. So that's myself and Eddie having conversations with people like Goldie, Fatboy Slim, David Rodigan, actually. And then we've got a new series coming up that starts next week where guests include Norman Jay and Trevor Horn, who produced all of those amazing records in the 80s, and somebody like MJ Cole. So these are podcasts that you can find you can find everything on the Deezer platform. And if you just literally tap into Google or whatever, Trailblazers, Electronic Pioneers, it will find you, it will take you there. So just two examples of podcasts that people can consume. Then of course you've got all of the YouTube content, all of the interviews that are out there. Study it, treat it like a job. Don't treat it like a hobby. Just, I'll watch a little bit of a story about how Dr. Dre got famous and wealthy. No, really, if there's 10 episodes of something and it tells the story of that journey, watch every single episode and maybe even write down, with a pad and paper, a pen and paper, or notes on your iPhone. What are the key things that you're learning? Amazing film, the documentary about Quincy Jones and his life story. That's on Netflix. That's something that people need to check out. So there's all of these resources, Nick. But then the other thing is working with somebody who can give you more bespoke advice. If you can find somebody relevant, somebody who will listen to your music and then go, hey, no, this track's good. This one could be better. That's got the best chorus. I'm not sure that the melody's strong enough on this, and give that kind of advice alongside more general guidance about, positioning and the route that you're taking and how to manage your socials and identity and all the rest of it. And I guess that's more what you're talking about in terms of when I provide consultancy to artists. And really that's what I do. I help developing artists to improve their proposition. So it requires, a lot of work from an artist to have success. They need to be talented and hardworking and all the rest of it. But definitely there's the opportunity to work with talented and hardworking artists and then help them to maximize their chances of success. And that's what I'm doing some of at the moment. And then I'm on, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Nick Hawkes, NickHalkes. And if anybody did want to follow up that area that I've talked about, just drop me a message.
Fantastic, mate. It's very, very generous, and I think there's a lot of nuggets in here, and we'll need to get some sort of notes pinned up. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll hit you if I hit you a link to this in the stream. As long as we don't, I'm trying my hardest not to put any copyright music in. Today we were live on Radio Somerset, BBC Somerset, and they went into a song, and that tripped out the YouTube IP servers, and they took us down. So we've lost the whole feed this morning now because of that. Although I think with YouTube now you can actually cut out the bit that's the copyright bit, because you don't want to lose a 4-hour stream because of 3 seconds. So that's the computer says no. But if I hit you up with the kind of Facebook one, you could maybe put some notes, like some bullet points in there if you've got a minute. There's some of the links that you've referenced, and we can drive people to that.
That's fine.
Because I'm a member of the Creative Industries Federation, and there's a lot of work that we do there around the creative industries and all these pathways. And back to the point around white kid gets a job at a record label, a black record label, it's almost as if they were positively discriminating. They weren't. They look for what you look for and I look for, and they're looking for those talents, those skills, those energies, those enthusiasms, the agility, all that stuff.
I honestly don't. I never felt when I was working at WBLS, I honestly didn't feel race came into that equation when I got that opportunity. I don't think they thought, I think they just thought, this is a kid who's got a bit of initiative. He's willing to tidy up all the records. He can phone up all the record stores and get the charts in as we asked him to. He's able to do what we need him to do, and he's in the right place at the right time, and we need a helper. Let's give the kid a shot. I think that was what happened in that case.
Just out of interest, I don't want to sort of dwell on this too long. I mean, what was it? It was obviously a black station. Was it sort of at 80-90% BME? Would you say?
It was, gosh. I mean, it was a microcosm of New York, really.
Oh, was it? So Hispanic.
It was, there were white people who worked there. There were Hispanic people. The managing director at the time was a black guy. There were quite a few black presenters, but it wasn't exclusively black presentation talent. But it was New York in the 1980s, and it was a good experience. Yeah,
it's funny because I think when I was in New York around the same time as you, 86 for the summer for 3 months, and I'll never forget going to Madison Square Garden for the Def Jam tour. So that was Run DMC, LL, Houdini, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, and there must have been 10 white guys in the building, and it was brilliant vibes. It was either black clubs or gay clubs. New York then, wasn't it? You didn't want to go to the straight clubs.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the interesting, edgy music and culture was coming from those areas, it was an interesting time, but that was just one, whilst that was an important break, if you like, for me, there were definitely other things, and I needed to keep kind of proving myself, I think, in the industry as the years progressed, because it's cool just to get one opportunity, but can you then spin that into another opportunity? Can you deliver what you need to deliver when that next opportunity comes up? And then maybe you can get offered a bigger job, like I was invited to, at one point, as an example, run EMI's dance and electronic business, having been very central to the XL Recordings first phase of success. And then, of course, I was in, but had to do it all over again. Start with a blank bit of paper, and they were like, right, go on then, what have you got? Let's see if you can have any hits. And then you got to work hard and hope that you get a bit of good fortune, and so it goes on, all the way through till 2020.
No, it's fine, and it's amazing what a small world it is. I mean, to stay with New York, I remember going to Union Square and queuing up to get in. The bouncer said, he looked us up and down, 2 white guys, and said, this is a black club? And we said, yeah. And he said, oh, you're English? I said, yes. We said, where are you from? He said, oh, Willesden Green, the bouncer for Union Square. Nick, I mean, you've been brilliant. It's been fascinating chatting to you as ever. We've got Danny Rampling tomorrow night. That's not a bad result, is it? DJing for us for 2 hours?
Well, it's really good. And Danny Rampling is one of the guests that we've had on our Trailblazers Electronic Pioneers program, and rightly so. So if people enjoy what Danny plays, or they're interested in his story, that's a great resource.
Well, big up Danny now. Give us an elevator pitch on Danny Rampling for everybody. Come on, sell Danny's gig tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, Danny's great, and Danny actually was responsible really for breaking the very first hit record that I had, which was a record called Numero Uno by Starlight, and he was one of the very first people to have a test pressing of this Italian record in the UK. He played it in a club that I happened to be in on a Sunday afternoon in Maidenhead. That's what I was doing. I was in a nightclub in Maidenhead on a Sunday afternoon, hoping that good fortune would strike. I heard this record. I thought, wow, that's good. Went sprinting up to the turntables, had a look, and there was something written on the white label, which I won't say now in polite company, but it suggested that I should seek other methods of working out what the record was. So because he was kind of keeping it to himself. But then I figured out what the record was. I called a few record stores, signed it, and then it went on to be a top 10 hit in the UK. And so got a lot of respect for Danny as a club runner, as a club DJ, as a radio broadcaster, and everything else. He's been a really important figure in the development of dance music in the United Kingdom over the decades, and so great that you've gotten along.
As have you, and I know we had 1/3 of your Reach Up Disco crew the other day. We had Andy Smith did a spot the other Friday, which is great.
Yes,
I think we'll have to get you on actually.
Well, and Andy's great, and he's yeah, that's right. I mean, literally when I mentioned about my start, and I said, I was running mobile discos and stuff like that, Andy was the guy that I was running a mobile disco with when we were both, 13, 14 years old, and then now with the Reach Up thing that we do together, we we play records together, we run that club night, and we've travelled to Berlin and Lisbon and done all sorts of festivals up and down the country, and would actually be at Glastonbury this weekend if things were a little bit different. But so Andy's great as well.
Fantastic. Finish with the records. If this was a podcast, people wouldn't have any idea why I'm asking this question now. So the last question to you before I let you go, Nick, is what are the silver and gold discs over your shoulders there? Because it's a good look, I'm sure. Come on, what are those?
Yeah.
What are
Let's
they?
have a look. Okay, so I think what have we got? We've got a couple of Prodigy ones. I think there's. Is there a? Yeah, let me just check this out. Hold on a minute. Buckethead's the Bomb. DJ Quicksilver. Buckethead's the Bomb. DJ Quicksilver. They were both on Positiva, and a couple of Prodigy ones. What have we got? Let's have a look. So I think it's silver for a couple of Prodigy singles, and that might be the platinum for the Invaders album. So, yeah,
Fantastic.
There's more, but I've got a few up there. It's all good.
Fantastic, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Well, great to see you. It's funny actually because this whole lockdown thing with the video conferencing, the big joke is that people have still got their pajamas on under the camera line. We just got a bit of your knee there, so we know you're hardcore shorts posse today. But that's the beauty of your job, isn't it?
I'm in my shorts. Fortunately, I'm not in my Y front, so thank God. That would be you wouldn't want that on your YouTube channel, mate.
Nick, thank you so much for your time. A lot of people are going to get a lot out of that today. We're going to spread this, we'll push this out, and with your support we can get the word out. You know that I've known you for a few years. I've been doing this stuff in schools, and people think, well, kids, creativity, whatever. We have got to bring the conversation out of those little echo chambers and connect it with the world of work, the creative industries. 130 billion is the industry that you're working in, bigger than any other industry. And we've got to connect it with broader society and community, because I know you're socially responsible. You care what's going on in this country. You care about democracy. You care about social integration. You care about all these things. So it's brilliant to work with you, because you're what I call a hashtag creative carer, somebody who genuinely cares about kids, creativity, and all our futures. Because let's face it, our kids are our futures. Nick Hawkes, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it, man. Cheers. Take care.
All right, Nick.
Stay
good
safe.
Luck to you, and thanks for you keep up the good work also, man.
Thanks,
care,
mate.
man.
It's been brilliant. Thank you so much, Nick.
Cheers.
Wow, what a legend there. That's just so generous of Nick to spare time with us today here on our pretend pyramid stage. Unbelievable. Hard to believe what we're getting away with today. It really is. That, I mean, if you don't know much about music, you have no idea what a legend that was. So we're now going to get set up. We've got a very, very quite hopefully very interesting heated debate, because this is all about focusing on what we have in common. So we're going to line up for that in about 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe 5. We'll be going live to David Rodriguez in America. Woo, America. And also Ed Finch in sunny Oxford. Ed is one of the loveliest people I know, so I always look forward to seeing him. And on a Friday night, I think he's got his ukulele ready. I hope he's locked on now. So Ed Finch, we're coming for you in just a minute, so hold tight. We are going to roll the film, and then we're going to come back for a half-hour education conversation about extremes, about what we have in common, about finding common ground, because we have to if we're going to move forward. That's absolutely key. That's not a good look, is it? So why is that audio not working? Worked before. Let's have a look. Let's try that. That might work. Passionately believe that the future for our children, our communities and our country lies in one thing: creativity. It can inspire our kids in their learning. It can create careers and connect communities. 10 years ago, after a trip to a festival, Camp Festival, I went back to my son's primary school and started a non-profit community enterprise called STEAMco with other parents, teachers and local businesses. We ran mini creativity festivals. STEAMco helps connect our kids with their art and our communities with their schools. Last weekend in that same playground, I filmed an amazing set by the legendary Glenn Matlock, co-founder of the Sex Pistols, and amazing global rock star Earl Slick, who used to play with David Bowie. It will be their performance at an event we've just been given permission to run in the playing fields of a school just down the road from Glastonbury. We're calling it #YourGlasto. It's one of 5 free 3-day Art of Community festivals that we're running all summer with the help of the Arts Council and funding from the National Lottery. Our first one was live streamed from Eden Project at the end of May and featured inspiring talks, uplifting performances, creative activities and community engagement. We had a fantastic performance by the blind and disabled young woman Kerpa from Leeds. We had a great Saturday night set from Emily Capel, and Gaz Mayer even Skyped in from his hideaway in Wales. We had a right old laugh watching Rosemary Schrager teach Levois to cook, and we all split our sides with Basil Brush.
Technology is an amazing thing.
Punk icon Jar Wobble chatted with a grandad in Liverpool. On Sunday we had a little big lunch, and after that rockstar activator Tom Morley led a co-drum circle with hundreds of people all over the world. And we had a couple of great late night dance parties where people could Skype in with a green screen background and end up on the dance floor. As the CEO of the Arts Council has said,
let's ask, what if? Let's start a creativity revolution.
Let's create our Glasto, my Glasto, your Glasto. Oh no, what have they done? What on earth is this? That's not what we ordered. Hey mate, what are you doing?
Whoa, what are you doing, mate? It's out of that area.
Oh, sorry, I've got a helmet, hang on. I mean, what are you doing setting up a scaffold pyramid stage?
Well, I've got my paperwork here to come here and deliver it. Really? Yes.
Well, you've got to take it down.
Take it down?
We wanted one made out of old cardboard boxes and loo rolls to inspire our kids to be creative. We want them to make their own at our Your Glasto festival next Friday.
Right, okay. Don, we've got to take it down, we're going to be all day. We're going to have to hurry up then because I want to get on and watch football tonight.
Thanks guys. Wow, that was a close one. Hopefully those guys can take that down now, but I don't know what we're going to do about cardboard. Let me see if I can get hold of Malumba. Oh, there he is.
I just saw what happened on Twitter. That's hilarious. I'm looking forward to what we're going to do with all that cardboard.
Well, we've got to make a stage out of cardboard. Do you remember that? Well, who's that guy you had on last week? Who made
Will Alexander? Yes, absolutely.
Can you get him in on Friday, and he can show the kids how to make pyramid stages out of out of cardboard tubes like this, toilet roll holders, cardboard boxes, anything like that. And even maybe some of the kids can get some of these big cardboard tubes from the carpet warehouses. There's one just down where I am. And you could make you could make one in the garden and actually have your lunch in that, and maybe have a performance or a band in there.
We're gonna have a whole cardboard Glastonbury event kind of thing.
Well, fantastic. And I think that the pyramid stage at Glastonbury is a place for music, but we could redefine it almost. It's a place for all sorts of art. Kids could play music. We've got a theatre company coming in, and they're going to talk to the kids about making theatre and writing plays. If kids do a small one, they can make little characters. We've got a stop motion animation company who can show them how to make little films. We've got Adobe Premiere to do video editing. I think that's going to work quite well, don't you?
Absolutely. The possibilities are endless.
And the other thing we need people to be getting ready for, Malumbo, we need people to be art activists next weekend. We're going to do loads of workshops about art activism, which is changing the world with your art. And we want people to download this A4 sheet off our website, #ILoveArt. draw a heart logo in there. Have you been doing any of these? Because you were going to do some, weren't you?
Absolutely, I've got one right here. Oh.
Wow, fantastic! My Glasgow. So can we print some of those onto T-shirts that people can use?
We can print as many as you want, and I'd love for people to be wearing them, expressing their love for not only Glasgow, but for the community, for the people on the street, especially in these times.
Brilliant. And if people take a photo holding their I Love Art sign, send it in #.
Okay, enough of that bloke. Enough of that bloke talking. Let's crack on with the show. Let's crack on with the show because we've got one of the loveliest people in the world queued up, ready to go. Just going to click through this. Here we are, your Glasgow, and when I press that button there and turn him up, I can hear Ed Finch. Hello, Ed Finch. Gosh, you look hot.
Oh, I'm blooming hot, mate. It's a hot old day. I've been teaching all day, key worker children at school, and I've run back as fast as I can to get back here to see you, mate. How are you?
You are the man. You are the man. I'm quite hot, actually. I'm quite hot. It's got to be said. And the trouble.
So I'm saying, do I go for a lolly first? Should I nip round a corn shop and get myself a Solero, or should I go for a beer? What do you think?
Well, so I've just been down the. I don't know if you've got YouTube on, but I've just been down the Co-op and I've got some beers because we're doing this Brewed Beer Fest. So
yeah,
I think I'm just about to answer the question for you actually, because I'm actually going to have one of these. This is a Brewdog Clockwork Tangerine. I've never had any of this fancy beer.
It's a very nice beer.
Is it? Good
very
beer.
Nice beer indeed. I think that one.
Good beer for good people united by Brewdog. I tell you, they say the right things, don't they? So I'll tell you what.
They say the right things. I'll tell you what, they do the right things too. You can
do they?
You know, they like their marketing, those lads, but they've made a lot of money by selling their Barnard Castle eye test beer, and they've turned all that money into hand sanitizer, which they've been distributing for free around hospitals. So they've been doing the right thing. And I don't mind drinking their beer if it's going to help them do the right thing. They are terrible show-offs, but there you go. We don't know many people like that, do we?
No, we don't, do we now? Oh, this is the one I wanted, Brewdog, the punk one, actually. That's the one I quite fancy, the sort of punk IPA.
Which one's that?
Punk IPA.
I love Punk IPA. That is one of my top 10 beers, the Punk
IPA. Is it? It feels appropriate today. So I think I've just answered the questions. I think if I were to just sit here and savouring a beer, I think you're going to get quite cross with me, aren't you?
I've still got a cup of tea here on the go. That's my problem. I have to finish that one off before I think about popping up the shop.
Oh, Ed. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what we could do, see, because I've got this chap, David Rodriguez. I've never met him before. Do you want to run to the shop while I get him on and introduce him as a chap, or do you want to just do this for half an hour, then go to the shop and then come back and we'll have a beer together?
I'm all right for half an hour.
Should we do that?
That'll be fine. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to meeting him. He's an interesting man, isn't he?
I don't know. I mean, all I do. All I know, well, I'm going to save my pitch actually. I'll have a little chat with him, and then I'll leave you two to have a chat, and I'll sit and have my beer because I'm actually not leaving this beer line around. So he's there. We've been in contact. So this is quite exciting.
Bring him up then. Bring him up. Let's meet the man. I'm looking forward to this. He's done some interesting stuff, and he's got some interesting opinions, and I'd love to meet him and see what he's got to say for himself.
Well, that's why you're here, because I know you've got a very open mind, and you are prepared to consider people like that. So that's fantastic. Hey, David.
Hello.
Hey, this is work. I love it when it works. Do you? It's good, isn't it? So I'm going to kill this camera. Does that bother you? So I've gone. Have you got a second screen that you can monitor things on?
Yep.
You have. So good. You can come again, okay? Because you're one of those people that kind of just gets it right. So I've got to press a couple of buttons here, and I'm going to put you. Oh, where should we put you? Put you kind of there. Hang on a second.
On the stage.
You are on. Have you heard of Glastonbury, David?
A little bit, just through you, and the great work you're doing.
You don't hear anything a little bit just through me. You hear it from a lot from me, or not? David Rodriguez, you're now on the Pyramid stage, which is an iconic symbol of creativity of the music industry. The thing that makes Britain great, creativity. Every year a festival is run at Glastonbury. It's 250,000 people. It's kind of Woodstock sort of territory, and obviously it was cancelled because of the COVID thing this year, and so we had a bit of a stunt. We've built the Pyramid stage half size, and it's still 200 feet high, and we've built it out of cardboard tubes and cardboard boxes, and it's all done with code and CGI. It's not actually there at all, so we have to tell people do not travel to Somerset because there's some kind of government travel ban in place, whatever. So David, a lot of what we do is around creativity, thinking about how education might evolve, how it might change. I came into it rather naively a few years ago as a dad, And I hadn't realised how toxic this world is. You know, you've got the traditionalists at one side, progressives at the other. And we're trying to say, let's look at the 80% in the middle we've got in common. I'm sorry, but I'm going to put you out at one extreme. I hope you don't mind. I did try and get somebody from that other side to come and have a chat, but they didn't accept for whatever reason. I don't think there's anything dark. I certainly wouldn't want to be sat in front of Skype at the moment if I had any choice. But the one person I have got here is a chap called Ed Finch, who runs an organisation called Brew Ed. And basically they are an organisation, very grassroots, very loose, that basically just encourages people to run teacher CPD training conferences in pubs on Saturday afternoons. They cap it at 50 people, it's £5 a ticket, $10, and you get a free beer. What's not to like? And the objective there is that people look at what they've got in common and what they haven't. So I'm going to leave you to chat with Ed, if that's okay, because I'll just get excited. Ed, say hello. David, say hello. Play nicely. Let's give you 20 minutes or something, shall we? Go for it.
Hey, David. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's interesting. I have my mother was a public school teacher, and I have family members who are still teachers now, principals actually in California. So I know there's good people in the system. It's just I don't know much about the UK system compared to the US, but it's all based on mandatory attendance and mandatory curriculum. And I find those to be some of the key issues that, I'm trying to find some solutions for and help parents remove their children and find some respectful and equal, humane ways to become educated and live a good life. So if you're helping teachers and people learn about these types of things, I think that might be really great work that you're doing. So I'm happy to hear about that.
Yeah. I mean, I find the people that come to the conferences that I run, or I don't run all of them, the network that I'm sort of heading at, a lot of them are coming from the world of social media, because that's where we recruit from, really, and that is just a place where you get people perceiving themselves at either side of massive divides. So the opinions get very divided on social media, particularly on Twitter, because of the limit on the character of things. So if I can get people in a room and put a pint in their hand and get them to have a chat, they're going to see that there's more in common. They're going to see that there's more nuance in the arguments, and they're going to find some common ground, which hopefully just detoxifies the conversations. That's all I want to do, is just say, look, he's not just the sum of two opinions. He's a real person, and chat to him like a human, and you're going to find that you make human connection. And that's what we do, and it seems to work. People like it. They come along for a good time, and they make real human connections with real warmth, and that's what I love. That's why I do it.
Yep, that's right. I think I don't know if you know. I think Nick might know, but I published the Underground History of American Education by John Taylor Gatto, and this goes into the history of the school systems, and it's really amazing. How it came to be. In Prussia, Germany, and how actually one of the decisive battles was the Battle of Jena, and they lost because, according to the leaders and the philosophers, they said people weren't being obedient to the orders. And so Johann Fichte and the guys got together and said, hey, we got to create a system where the free will is destroyed so that they cannot think of doing something their schoolmaster wouldn't approve of, and then if whoever's been in charge of this generation or the school for a generation would be able to control its people without any police or military, because they would self-police themselves. And so that's what we're seeing, very big concerns out here. They don't have the ability to think for themselves. And so whatever the television says, whatever the movies say, anything, they just accept it as truth. And I think becoming an educated person is about making your own evaluation, making your own conclusions, and then making your own decisions. And life is full of risk. But I really am grateful for what Nick's doing, and maybe sounds like yourself, to help in the creative aspect of it, because I believe every person is a brilliant human being. They're capable, but when the system squeezes that creative juice out of them, it almost dehumanizes them and gets them down to the base animal instincts rather than creative and expression and all the great things that you guys are helping the children and the parents and teachers with now.
So you run a body, am I right, called Valor Academy? And you're addressing some of that. So you're perceiving the industrialization of education, you might say, and what people perceive as children being turned into cogs in a machine. Louis Althusser looks at that, doesn't he? And he says, that the machine is creating its own future, creating what it needs to self-perpetuate. We do school like we do because we want more people to be going through school like we are, and trying to disrupt that is
yeah,
is the core to it.
Well, so,
how does Valor Academy
mm-hmm.
get a spoke in the wheel of that process?
So what I focus on is apprenticeships and accelerated graduations. And so accelerated graduations mean I can graduate 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds who are not having a good time. So I get them a high school diploma, and then that then exempts them from mandatory attendance policies in California, and also exempts them from the worker permit requirements. And sometimes they might want to engage with some expert in the field, and so I do some kind of broker relationship with the apprentice and the mentor and work out something and then kind of set them up. But my philosophy, I have two principles at my school, and one is the world is the classroom. So, we're talking, I'm in a hotel room, you guys are probably in some center or at your own house, wherever you are, we're learning. Learning's always happened. This is the classroom. And the second principle is that anything you can learn from or anybody you can learn from can be a teacher. And so this is something that the licensing people don't like, in the States, I'm sure other places, because it's a business. The licensing is something the state gives you power, the credentials. But in my experience, people without degrees, without diplomas, without licenses have been some of my best teachers. And some people with all these degrees weren't really caring, they weren't really loving. And I think the bigger question is, what is an education? What is success? Yeah. And so my definition of education is what you do to yourself to create a good life. And, that's something you can accept or reject. But other people, parents out there, teachers, think about what is an education. Some people think it's the grades or the tests, and there might be some value there. But I think ultimately it's directing our life so that we can have a fulfilling, meaningful existence that we can be proud of. And I think grades and tests kind of inhibit that, especially in the U.S., and they put so much stress on it. And I'm sure it's probably similar in the UK. It is in China. I spoke in China a couple years ago, and kids are committing suicide over this one test. It's like, if you don't get this grade on the test, then your whole future is ruined. Man, you're 18 years old. Your whole future is not ruined. Relax. So again, there's a big money. It's a big business. In the U.S., it's a $700 billion a year business. So you can imagine all the money, all the different entities that are getting paid there. But Valor Academy tried to get kids out of the school system with their parents' permission and connect them with some experts in their field and actually learn hands-on. You can learn the books. I love books, but real exciting is things when you get together with mentors who know what they're doing. And so that's the direction that we're going, and hopefully we can expand and help anybody around the country and around the world.
That's great. So are you getting in touch with children who are at risk of critical failure within the schooling system? Is that so children who might otherwise just fall out of the system, and that you're giving them a lifeline in a sense? Or is that people approaching you saying, I want my kid out, and how can I facilitate that? And you're making that happen? How do you recruit into the academy?
So a lot of times it's a student who's like really smart and they're advanced and they're just bored sitting there at age 15 years old, freshman, sophomore. They want to go do stuff. They have these amazing devices that they've grown up with, right? I didn't grow up with these devices. Maybe you didn't either. And it's like, well, why do I have to sit in this classroom? Like the world is open for anybody who with an adventurous spirit. So yeah, that's one way to go about it, is to get them out of the classroom for these advanced students. And then there's other kids who are less advanced, and I don't even believe that. I believe, like Buckminster Fuller said, every child's a born genius. The challenge is they get de-geniused, trying to please their teachers and please their parents. So sometimes it's just like, hey, my child's having a tough time. What can we do? I say, well, did you know the school system was designed to make consumers obedient people and not creative entrepreneurs and innovators? Like, that's why it was designed. That's why the attendance is mandatory. That's why the curriculum is mandatory. They don't want your child blossoming. So that's why I think it's really important for parents and teachers to understand where the system came from. And then they say, wow, if that's why it's designed, then why am I worried about this diploma, this degree, when really, as I ask parents in my consulting with the homeschooling area, what do you desire for your child? And it's normally something to the effect of a happy child, a healthy child, and a child that is productive, that can be independent, and they don't have to rely on mom and dad for their whole life. I mean, these are some of the basics. So I said, okay, if that's what you desire, Let's focus on that. Let's focus on happiness. Let's focus on health. Let's focus on becoming productive, because they do have to earn a living at some point. So these are real problems, but I think using coercion reduces the effect of an inspirational, curious, driven, led education, and it actually harms them. So there's the advanced teens I graduate. There's the board teens who I graduate. Any parent who approves of me getting their child out of the school system, I'll work with, and we can do like a short session or a long session. But the main thing is to get them out of this building where they think this is learning or education, and it's more of an indoctrination, a factory system that doesn't empower their spirit.
So in the UK, those children, if they've got parents with a little bit of money, those parents might affect that change by choosing to homeschool if they can afford to. That's a huge choice, because then you've got to have somebody at home, and that's an income down. So that's a viable option for the middle classes in the UK. For those pupils in the UK who were in that situation and their parents couldn't afford to homeschool them, they're in a terrible situation. They're either going to fall out of education altogether because they're going to end up being excluded if their behaviour's gone out of the window, or they're just going to be miserable sitting in the back of class and keeping their head down because it doesn't suit them. Some of those children have had a brilliant time under our lockdown. We've been locked down because of this COVID since sort of mid-March. So my own son, he's not a big fan of school, but he's downstairs and he's teaching himself things, and he's learning. He's very self-directed. I go to work all day. He's 13. I go to work in the morning. I'm gone by 8 o'clock. I'm not back usually until 5 at the earliest, and I come back and he's building space stations and coding in Python and learning this and learning that. I just think it suited him better, really, although he's not a school refuser, and he has some friends and he likes his teachers, but I just think he's doing better as a self-directed student. And I think, well, how could you let, for a child like him, how could you let that carry on? What can I do to facilitate it? In our system, I can't. He's got to be at school, and he's got to go through the sausage machine. He's okay. He won't mind that. He'll do okay, but it's not ideal for him. Right. Have you seen that as well? Children who, because schools are closed, have actually flowered.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of parents who never thought of homeschooling are now saying, you know what, my child's happier. I'm having a relationship with them. Yes, we don't have as much discretionary income, but they wake up with joy. We have a fun time together. So I think that's kind of the silver lining, I would say, of this whole COVID thing, where the families are spending more time together, and they are, as you mentioned, self-directed learning. That is the apex of education, in my opinion. That really is what it's about. That's where we want to get them. And so to transition from a compulsory system to that, I have 5 phases of homeschooling. But I'd like to just mention one thing about, low-income families, because this is a question. It's like, wow, we need all the money that we're making and we don't know what to do. So you might not be able to homeschool, but set that as a goal. Maybe give yourself 2 years, depending on how old your child is. Give yourself some time. I know you're feeling urgent because of whatever reason you want to homeschool, but give yourself maybe 18 months, 2 years to put a real plan together. In the meantime, one of the things I tell my clients is that, hey, when your child's in class, help them understand about the system, whether it's my book or other books out there about the schools. Let them know this school is abnormal. Like for me, and maybe some of your listeners out there, I thought the school system was a legitimate reality. I think this is life. You got to memorize and test and memorize and test. And turns out that's not. It's all fabricated. So if you let them know, hey, you're going to go to this school, it's a social system that's been designed. It's not real learning. It's the state wants you to become an obedient taxpayer, obedient law follower, and all these things for the benefit of the state. Just like if McDonald's owned the school system, they would teach you that the preservatives in the food are healthy, and the goal is to become a McDonald's employee. And one day, if you're lucky, you can own a McDonald's franchise, right? So there's always interest involved in the school. So I say that to say, help them realize that the tests, the bells, all these things are all fabricated, and to not take them serious. And I had one client who their daughter was a second grader. She was crying going to school, and she said, I don't want to go to school. I said, well, you got to ask your parents to homeschool. And she's like, yeah, I want to homeschool. So I talked to them about a year later, and they didn't homeschool. So I said, hey, how's your new school? She's like, it's great. I said, "Oh, you're having a good time at school?" "Yeah." I said, "Do they give you a lot of tests?" She said, "Yeah, but my mom says it doesn't matter if I get low scores on the test, so it's okay." So she said it like that, 8 years old, just carefree and happy. And so that's one little hack that you can do, is let the child know the tests and the grades, mom and dad don't care about it. What we care about is loving you, the trust, and you having healthy and happiness. So that's one way you can do it for a low-income family that's worked, and just to reduce the stress and the worry that children naturally put on themselves to please the teachers and please the parents.
Yeah. I think that's a huge factor in US education, isn't it? Because of standardized assessment tests and the way that they're being run, combined with the curriculum through big curriculum providers, and those are also being used, aren't they, to drive teacher appraisal and the teacher pay progression as well. So you've got a real toxic effect of testing right through the US system, which is, it's not quite replicated in the UK. We have lots of testing that I'm not a big fan of, but it's not toxic in that way. Would you like to just say a few words about how that works? Because I don't think UK visitors will really understand quite how toxic testing has got for you guys over there, and also maybe how that is tied in with the whole charter school movement and what that's done for the standardization maybe of education. That as a complex question, but yeah, what testing means in the US system and how that ties into charter schools. Because I don't think our UK guys maybe know that.
Yeah, so basically, in simple terms, the states, there's 50 states, each state was in charge of these testing modules every year, and now they're trying to move towards a nationalized test. And what happens is that the teachers teach this certain curriculum. They don't create the curriculum. The state gives them the curriculum. They deliver the curriculum, and then the children regurgitate that during the test. And depending on the score of the students, teachers can be evaluated as well. So now teachers are motivated to get their teaching scores up when their children have their student scores up. So that's one aspect of it. And then it's also a big business. The SAT test is generally the test. There's also an ACT to get into colleges. I think you guys might have something similar. And so they put a lot of emphasis on these tests, but it's a business, just like the textbook publishers, the uniform makers, the food makers, the architects of the buildings, the bus manufacturers, the suppliers, the pens, the printers, the computers. I mean, this is a massive enterprise. So it comes down to money. And unfortunately, there's a lot of opportunists out there who don't think about the children in terms of, equity with their pocket. They would rather fill their pockets and stress out children. Like I said, I mentioned before in China, but there's also suicides in the U.S. and all this depression and, these types of things. So I think if you can understand, what is intelligence, this is another big question. There's IQ tests. I think IQ tests are interesting because they can do patterns and memorization and these things. But as the Howard Gardner at Harvard indicated, there's 8 or 9 types of intelligences, and language and math are just one of them. There's linguistics, there's musical, there's spatial, there's all these incredible types of intelligences. And my philosophy is that there's 7 billion types of intelligences. And as John Gatto said, an education should be as unique as your fingerprints. So how is it possible somebody, they don't know me, and they're going to evaluate what nature or God or universe or source or whatever created this mind and me and you and the children out there, how are they going to evaluate me? So I think that's the importance of self-evaluation. And again, going back to self-directed learners, that's what we do. We evaluate ourselves, or we ask people who we respect for their opinion, hey, I created this item or this thing. What do you think about it? What do you think about it? And you get a survey and you say, okay, this is what somebody said.
David, I don't know if I've dropped you or whether you've dropped me.
He's dropped out. He's back. Hold on a sec. David, we lost you for a second. Are you there, David?
You got that?
You're there again. We just lost you.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
So with those, I think in the UK system at the moment, there's lots of people talk about the effect of testing to reinforce memory as a teaching tool. So not testing, they wouldn't say we're calling testing, that's sort of just memory checking. So I taught you some vocabulary on Monday, and on Friday I'll see if you can remember it, and we'll see if you can remember it the next Friday as well. And I don't think I have a massive issue with that. It's a skill I use sometimes with pupils, but I think the the form of testing that we see in the US is it's testing gone mad, and it's also very reductive. If I'm right, most of those tests are based on multiple choice questioning, because that's easy to mark, and therefore there is no room for nuance. Really, there is no room to show understanding. It's tick the right box or you got it wrong.
That's right. Yeah, and as an educated person, you know it's about expression. You know, to know about observe around you, perceive what you perceive, create some insights, and then communicate it to other people. And this is what's so important about, speaking in public or writing. Becoming a writer is that you can be a very intelligent person, but if we can't communicate to the world, or we can't write it and express it in words, then we're locked inside of our own head. So this is why I really recommend homeschoolers and private schoolers, public schoolers, to do some type of public speaking, not by coercion or mandate, but like say your child's 10 years old or 8 and they come up to you excited, even though you're making dinner, even though you're busy with work, give them 2 minutes, because that enthusiasm, that excitement, that passion, that is the engine that drives the ability to speak in public. And then speaking in public will give them so many more advantages when they go to job interviews or business deals or whatever it is. So sit down and say, all right, honey, tell me what you got. And then they can tell you what you have for 2 minutes. Say, thank you. That's really amazing. Daddy's got to get back to work, but let's talk about that a little later, because that energy, rather than squishing it out like schools do, right? When a child's really excited, I got to answer the question and they don't get called. I got to answer the question and they don't get called. That enthusiasm is a gift. That curiosity and that desire to communicate is a real superpower.
So do you see your, when you look at Valor Academy and you think about these things, and, we know that, there's a large number of children who are going to do okay through this system of schooling. Lots of kids, it might not be their favorite thing, it might not be perfect, but a lot of kids do okay. Are you sufficiently radical that you think, no, in the future, I want to see the end of formalized schooling? Or are you like, we just really do need an escape route for those kids that it's not working for? Where do you sit there?
Beautiful. I dream of a world where schools are voluntary, and it's because it's about human dignity and human respect. Nowhere are we forced to be in a building for any amount of time except in schools. And so from age 6 to age 18 in the U.S., you have to get permission to go to the bathroom, permission to drink water. I consider it immoral. I consider it a criminal entity. So I can't bring it down because the state has all the guns and the money, but through opting out, and this is the Gatto Project, which we're getting ready to launch. It stands for Get All the Thinkers Out of Forced Schools. So just like I would never force any of you guys to do anything, especially read or do assignments, I think it's very disrespectful to do that to children and tell them, hey, you're the hope of the world. You're the future. Now do this.
Whoop, fizzled out again.
I've lost his audio again.
No, we've lost him. David.
So it's not the exact tonality, but the point is that I want to see respectful schooling. I think voluntary schools are the future.
David, can you hear me, David?
I hear you, yeah.
So, I beg your pardon. Can you back up a bit? You dropped out again. I think your data's...
We just lost you for a second, David.
We lost you for about 30 seconds, I think. If you could just back up a little bit, possibly.
Yeah. So I do dream of a world that schools are voluntary, and it's about human dignity, human respect, where I would never force you to do anything to please me, like, say, read this book, do this assignment. And so the future is voluntary. The future is allowing people, whether they're young or old, to pursue what they're interested in. And these devices have changed the world. Remember, the internet's only 20 years old. So just in the last 10 years have we really seen, mass adoption and these kind of things. These devices aren't going anywhere. So rather than trapping children in buildings, I think the future is going to be community learning, doing villages, actual relationships. And this is up to mom and dad. At what point, what age do you feel comfortable letting your young child or young adult son or daughter be with somebody else? So I'm talking about maybe age 11, 12, 13, 14. They can go apprentice out in the real world. So I'm not going to try to destroy anything. I'm trying to build a model that makes the old model obsolete. But this thing's been going on for generations. There's 3 million teachers in the U.S., all these hundreds of billions of dollars. So I'm just going to try to follow in the footsteps of John Taylor Gatto, maybe inspire some other people along the way. remove a few hundred or a few thousand kids, and if I can help some other people start their own schools and learn some of these philosophies, then I think we're going to be in a good place.
When you talk about these issues in the US, are you seen as a punk? Are you seen as an anarchist? Are people thinking that you're figuratively putting a bomb under the whole thing, or do you get a friendly, receptive audience of people who kind of get what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I actually get positive responses. So far in the last few years, I would say about 80% of people are in agreement with me. They say, yeah, I didn't like school. It was terrible. I had a bad time. But 20% of people actually like the public school. So I used to really say the schools harm everybody, but some people had positive experiences. So I can't poo-poo their positive experience and say, okay, you had a great time. Well, that's awesome. You're about 20% of it. But people really appreciate what I'm doing, what John Taylor Gatto's done, because they felt disrespected and they didn't like the teachers most of the time. They didn't like the homework. They had got bullied or all these different problems in the schools. And so I'm kind of one of the main guys speaking the truth, because I don't want to lie to children. I don't want to lie to parents. And to say that the public school system is the perfect system or one size fits all, it's not. The future is about finding your unique voice. You're special. You're rare. So is every child. The child is vulnerable. So let's stop using coercion, force, and intimidation and give them freedom. And there's more risk involved. But if you watch the movie Summerhill from 2008, it's a great indicator of what is possible for 100 years. Total voluntary school. Got so much respect for A.S. Neal for creating that over 100 years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting case, isn't it? I think I'm one of those guys that, I did not like school. And I don't think school liked me very much. Not until the last couple of years I got on. And I always think when I go into the classroom, because I'm a standard teacher in a state-funded primary school, I just think maybe if I can make today a little bit not so bad for the kids as it was for me, then I'm not doing an awful job. I like to think that that school isn't as bad as it was when I was there. I feel there's an awful lot of children. A lot of people my age remember their schooling and they're not happy about it, and they don't want the same for their children. They really hope that it's different, and maybe they're afraid that it isn't. When we see them at our parents' consultations and our parents' evenings, you can see a lot of parents are a little bit worried, and a little bit afraid to be back in school, and a little bit worried and a little bit afraid to be back in front of a teacher. I like to think we've changed our system, and that schooling isn't like that. It isn't like how it was for me in the 1970s. I like to think that we do put kids at the centre of it. But it's true that particularly maybe for kids on the spectrum, on the autistic spectrum, it's not a comfortable place to be, and it's certainly not the optimal place to learn. We just don't know financially how we would do it differently as a society, perhaps. It would take a different economic model for us to go, kids are better off educated in a place that's shaped around them, not shaped around the need to herd them in groups of 30 or more.
Right. And it's important also to understand, like I said, redefine education. The root of education is educo, and that means to pull from within, to elicit. And so the child's already brilliant. They're already genius. Now they're just trying to figure out their way. They got to figure out some language, figure out to communicate, figure out their interests. But you got to really define, what are we after and what are we searching for? And I think it is the human connection, the fulfillment, a meaningful life. And stop chasing all these different things that don't make sense to you as an individual. Because, yes, the whole system needs to change, but we got a few years for parents out there, like your child matters the next 5, 6, 8, 10 years. The whole system's been around for decades, generations, a century, but you have a few years right here. So to focus on, okay, what are we focusing on? What are we doing? And ultimately, humans, we desire to be respected. We desire to be loved, trusted. And I think the future currency is going to be trust. And this is what some of the blockchain technologies are about. This is a different conversation, but this is one way to get out of the Federal Reserve System, this criminal enterprise that started this money system 100 years ago, funds all the wars, devalues the currency. So that's one way out. And I think homeschooling, self-directed learning is another way out. And it's really about giving that person the freedom, and then ultimately they become curious. We are naturally curious beings. There's mysteries all around us. We are a mystery. Our body, we don't even know how our fingernails grow, our hair grows. It just does. We're like this spirit inside this amazing flesh suit. And if we can share it with other people and have a great time, then we can enjoy our experience. And I think that's really one of the goals of education, is to have a good life and create that for ourselves. Instead of mom and dad focusing on these little tests, these little things, I think building a trusting, loving relationship with your child, this is the highest goal that I recommend all my clients do.
Would there be a space in the US for a school like Summerhill? I mean, Summerhill still exists. There's a couple of other schools that exist on broadly similar models about, the democracy, the child's voice, and the freedom to choose not only subjects, but whether to go to that lesson or not. Is there a space for that in the States?
Absolutely.
Presumably outside the federal system.
Yeah. Yes, Summerhill inspired a lot of organizations out here. There's something called the AERO. It's AERO. I believe it's the Alternative Education Resource Organization. This is where I learned about Summerhill in the first place. There's something called Sudbury Schools. That's SUDBURY. They've been around for 30 years. I think they have about 40 or 50 schools. There's something called Agile Learning Centers. They got some really cool models. So there's a great marketplace opening. The challenge is that it takes capital and it takes an entrepreneur, and then sometimes the tuition isn't really that low. I mean, it's lower compared to some private school, which is $50,000 a year. But sometimes these democratic schools or these agile learning centers range from maybe $12,000 on the low end, $9,000, up to $30,000 themselves. There's also something called Acton Academy. That's ACTON. They got some great stuff. I think they're growing really fast. So if somebody wants to look at those schools, you can start those as well. So there is a great marketplace, but the problem is that parents are still learning about these things. It can be a cost prohibitive. So this is why I provide the homeschool consulting. And I mentioned before, helping the child understand this is all a fabricated school system. Relax.
So that's the biggest limitation for you. It is the parents understanding that education is a construct of, maybe it's an agreed construct of society, but it's not beyond question. If they maybe just don't understand that bit, because once you tug that bit, the whole thing does really fall to pieces, doesn't it?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What falls to pieces if we do what?
I'm saying that the biggest barrier for democratic schooling, for people accepting homeschooling as part of the mainstream, and that is that huge weight of generations now of people thinking that you have to go to school and you probably won't like it and you will just have to learn this stuff that doesn't make sense to you and we have to do tests. So until parents, like you say, hang on a sec, this is all just a social construct and we can step outside it and probably we'll still be happy and probably it will still be okay, until they can step outside and see that with a bit of clarity, it's very hard to challenge the system because it just feels natural. It's how it's always been.
Right. And this is why I have so much respect for John Gatto and why I'm speaking out, because it is created in our language. It's created in conversation and communication. So as we're discussing it, now we're planting seeds for other people to understand. And as I mentioned before, I consider the forced school system to be a criminal enterprise. I consider government to be organized crime, because my rights don't come from government. My rights come from nature, from God, or from universe. And so I believe in voluntary relationships. It's a concept called voluntarism. And we're not going to change it overnight, but guess what? Whoever's in charge of this school system, the state, they don't like change. They like it the way it is. And this is an example like Blockbuster Video out here. They used to rent movies. People would go to the store and rent movies. Well, a thing came out called Netflix. Well, Netflix pitched themselves to Blockbuster. Blockbuster rejected. They rejected twice. I think they rejected 3 times. They said, no, nobody's ever going to sit home and order movies. They like coming to the store. So what happens, Netflix surpassed Blockbuster. Blockbuster went out of business. So there was no violence there. There was no revolution there. But it was just finding something better, which is a voluntary school, and we'll leave the compulsive, coercive schools behind. I think it's inevitable, but the state does use coercion and violence, so it is a little bit risky. The schools are funded by property taxes out here, which is another diabolical thing where the house is paid off, but you still got to pay the county 1% per year. It's like, is this my house or am I renting it from the county to live in it? And that appears to be the case. So again, calling the government organized crime, because they can't do something that I don't have the ability to do. And so this is another idea that's really gaining traction, is natural rights, personal self-ownership, and sovereignty. And I think this is inevitable if the internet stays free and a bunch of powerful leaders start speaking up.
Really interesting, because it fits in, doesn't it? I mean, that way of thinking fits into quite some quite mainstream parts of thinking of it in the US about the powers of the state and about the the citizen, as you say, being citizens' rights being above federal law. You know, I think that's expressed really clearly in American thought, and it goes all the way down to to survivalists saying they can keep hold of their guns and you can't take them, but it goes right up to the top of saying who has power over me. It's articulated really differently in the US. I almost think that the power of our educators comes from something a bit more like tradition, and people thinking that that's how it has to be because it's been like that. Our education minister today said, I can't find the quote, I'm looking on the internet here, but he made a public statement saying he thought that when we go back to school in September, when things get back to normal, he wanted to see all children sitting facing the board, like it's his job as the Minister for Education to tell us how we do our jobs in our classrooms. That's never been the case. And it's probably never really been the case that all the children sat in rows facing the blackboard, to be honest. Not in my lifetime, it hasn't. But it's really interesting that this education minister is trying to claim power that is clearly beyond his, and he's doing it to create something which seems to him to be traditional or reminiscent of education in a grammar school in the 1950s. So somehow our power is where the seat of power in education sits. It looks a little bit different, I think. You're saying that it comes from property taxes and the state, and that interacts with the rights of the citizen who has the Bill of Rights and so forth. We're looking at it slightly different and saying, well, it's just always been like that. It has to be like that. That's how our state works it. But we see our state trying to take more power at the moment and tell us how to do our jobs. They never used to do that. They used to say, well, you get on and we'll operate at a different level. I think there's new conflict coming in. I'm being the sort of person I am, I would say that comes from neoliberalism, but I don't know if you would agree with that. But this power grab from the state over our education systems, do you see it increasing, and do you see neoliberalism as a source of that?
Yeah. I don't know the definition for your definition of neoliberalism. I just believe in freedom. There's three principles that I think are really important. One is self-ownership. You own your body and flesh and the fruits of your labor. Number two is the non-aggression principle. You can do whatever you want as long as you don't harm another person or their property. And number three is self-defense. Because you own this body and your property, you can defend it if somebody else tries to take it. And so those are the three principles for basic freedom as I talk with my new friends, because I went to the school system. I thought I had to get permission to do all these things, but we already know through the Declaration of Independence that you have a right to your life, liberty, and property. This is already known, but there's certain agendas out there. If you haven't heard of United Nations Agenda 21, you want to take a look at that and see what's happening. This is why huge corporations are merging, and they want to have a legitimate global totalitarian state where everything's tracked and monitored, and that's what we're seeing out here with the COVID. They're going to put these social distancing measures in the schools. The kids are going to have to stay 6 feet apart. They might even have the plastic bubbles or the masks. So for my research, personally, I have not seen evidence of a global pandemic. I've looked in hospitals, multiple hospitals out here in California. They're completely empty, and we've done investigations, and it seems to be a giant over-exaggeration. If anything, just a flu, a typical virus, and maybe on a nefarious possibility, absolute scam to benefit the pharmaceutical companies. So all that to say that in the schools, they will be trying to implement this in the next few months. In the fall time is when the school season starts out here. So I don't want to see children harmed. That's ultimately what it's about. Stop harming children. Stop using my money to harm children, So ultimately, the very vulnerable, they need parents for shelter, food, clothing. So let's stop using coercion and force, and we'll figure out everything else. Homeschooling has been the way of the past for thousands of years. It's only in the last 150 years in the U.S. and 200 years in Germany where the school systems have been this way. And there's been lots of schools, but I'm talking about the compulsory model, the model where there is no freedom to choose. I think that's essential for the future.
So it's setting so the idea of schooling as we see it, say, people look in the classical world and say, well, they had schools there, but it was a privilege for the wealthy, and it was, as you would say, it was maybe not voluntary to the child in those societies, but it was certainly a family's choice to educate their child through that way. So saying the formalisation of education, where every young member of the society is expected to pass through the system, is the bit where you take it on. Education where an older or more expert person teaches knowledge or skills to a younger person, that's probably gone on for the whole of human history. But there's this particular moment in that argument, which I think is frequently made, isn't it? So that comes around at that time, and there's a step change in what education is in terms of state control over the individual at that point. Do you see that, when you look at systems around the world, there's places where you can see that writ large, and if you look at the Chinese system, I think it looks very much like that picture of the state having power over young people, pushing them through this machine, huge pressure, as you say, huge amounts of suicide and stress. And then you look at other systems. I think we talk about the system in Finland quite often in the UK as something that people look to, where they see a lot more freedom, and where it doesn't look like that, in terms of coercion. There's a lot more freedom and a lot more space for the child to have a voice in their education, to make choices. I mean, do you think if you were teaching in another country where it hadn't gone as badly wrong as I think it has in the States with compulsory testing particularly, and the effect of that on the curriculum and on teacher well-being, do you think you would be still as passionate about this? Is it the compulsory nature of education, everybody has to do it, or is it that particular sickness in the US system, which I think is there to some extent in the UK, but not writ as clearly as it is for you guys? I mean, long story short, do you think that basically at heart you have a philosophical problem with state education in its form, or do you think that you're seeing the damage done to individuals by a particular sick system, and that's what's revolting you? Maybe a bit both.
Yep. I think the compulsion makes everything worse. And, you've heard about child or student shooters, people with guns. These are wealthy.
Oh, we lost him again.
I think we have. I think he'll be back. He's back.
It's a fascinating conversation, isn't it? It gets tied into so many interesting bits of philosophy and citizenship that seem really alien to us, I think, in the UK. We don't think about, we don't have a Bill of Rights. We haven't had a War of Independence. So it's a really interesting way that it plays into similar issues that we're facing in the UK. So we look at, some of us look at schools in the UK which have very strict rules and have very formal ways of teaching, and we think it looks similar to some of what David's talking about, but actually it's coming from a rather different place philosophically, I think. It cross-fertilizes, and there's individuals involved in both systems. But it's really interesting digging that bit deeper and just sort of thinking about where David's position comes from philosophically, because my feeling is that I don't think many people in the UK have quite that take on it. They'll say, this child is not coping in the state system, maybe because of an autistic spectrum disorder, or maybe because of behavioural problem, or maybe because they've had a traumatic background. This child is not coping in a system that otherwise is fit for purpose. We need to rescue this child from it, and a system like David's would work beautifully for that child. Okay, you can't be in formal schooling, but we have a system whereby you can still, we don't graduate high school, but you can still get, certification of basic skills and then move into apprenticeship within the workplace, because that's going to work for you better. But we would be looking at it, I think, in the UK far more about, for this child the system's not working, for this child, these are the children that need another answer. But it's so interesting to hear that philosophical thing saying, hang on a sec, it's not the individual child's problem, it's the system's problem, because it is, however you like it, one way or another, it is coercive. You've got 30 children in the class, they've got to sit down and listen, otherwise you can't teach. Yes, but that's coercive. Where do the children's individual rights come in? I don't think about it on that philosophical level, and I need to read some stuff. I think, David, maybe you could tell us more about John Gatto, because he's not a name that people know in the UK, and I know through looking through your Twitter feed that he's an influential voice for you. Can you recommend some reading for us from Gatto and tell us a little bit about what he did and why he's important?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is his life's work, Volume 1. It's been out of print for 15 years, Underground History of American Education. He also wrote Dumbing Us Down in the 90s, I think 91, and then The Weapons of Mass Instruction in 2008. Why is he such an important guy? Because he was a school teacher in New York City for 30 years, and he won the State Teacher of the Year award twice, which is a really prestigious award amongst tens of thousands of teachers. And so why was he so famous? Is because he was actually doing some of these things, helping children find their own projects. And there's a documentary called Classrooms of the Heart, and that's still available on his YouTube channel, which I run, and it just shows his techniques. And basically he would try to customize everything for the child, say, hey, what kind of project do you want to do this year? Whatever project you want to do, I'm going to do my best to help connect you with the right people, and then you can go out and get a real education. And so he did all these great things, and he was a intelligent guy, but he was curious. He said, this system looks like it was designed to prevent real learning from happening. So he told me that he did the research into this because he had to answer his own questions, like, why is there bells every 40 minutes? Why do you need permission to leave? Why does the curriculum not come from the teacher? It comes from the state. All these huge questions, as that you're saying, is like, I never thought about it either until I heard it from John Gatto. I said, this is really insane. I had a terrible time in school, just from boredom and feeling disrespected. And it turns out that's by design. They want my voice to stay silent. And so this is why where children start to become vocal, they say, you didn't raise your hand, Johnny. You got to raise your hand. They don't want to become visionary leaders and, disruptors of society. They want them to stay conformist. Everybody stays the same. And so there's also a great interview that he did. If you want to see more, he did 5 hours with a guy named Richard Grove called The Ultimate History Lesson. That's also for free on YouTube, but you can support that website, tragedyandhope.com. And he goes through his mindset and like, what is going on? He's, I think, 78 years old in that interview, and we caught him about, I think, a month or two before he had a stroke. So after Richard Grove got the interview, a stroke happened, and his body got paralyzed, and so he lost a lot of his ability to articulate verbally, although he was writing. And we still have essays that we're going to publish on Volume 2 and Volume 3, and then hopefully we can make a film at some point down the road. But to really have this conversation, what is education? How about curriculum? The word curriculum just means a course or a path. So your child's on a course, I'm on a course, a path of life. So it's my job to self-meander, self-direct, versus the idea of a curriculum that you buy it, you memorize it, and then you put it on the test. And so even in terms of like getting a certificate or a diploma, what I recommend my clients do with their children is help them develop skills, help them acquire knowledge, help them learn to perform. And that way they won't need pieces of paper because someone says, hey, can you do this? Can you perform this task? And say, yes, I can do it. Boom. Or they create a portfolio and say, look at all these things I've done, and look at all my results right there. So there's ways around the forced school system, and I think it's demonstrating actual value in the marketplace, actual value to humans. Another untapped resource is elderly people. So, there's, I think, a lot of room for people to connect young people with elderly people, whether in senior homes or grandparents. They have so much knowledge and wisdom, and so kids are missing out on that when they're hanging out with 10-year-olds only or 12-year-olds only. That's not real life. It is a superficial existence. And so we just want to promote voluntary schools, voluntary education. And if we do, I think there's a lot of hope.
Guys, I'm going to drop in there, do you think? We could talk all night, and we're 45 minutes over, and we're back on at 7. And I've been here since 10, so we're going to have a bit of a breather. This is a fascinating conversation, and it's a conversation that I challenge anybody who actually stops to think about it to not be vaguely interested in, unless they've got a stake in the status quo. And we reached out for a couple of people to join David, people who are doing good work. They're giving kids great outcomes. There are children who don't fit that system, and the question mark is what happens to them. And these are the conversations we want to have. You know, I'll be honest with you, David. I wasn't sure if have you lost us, David? He's lost audio, has he? Have you lost audio, David?
Sorry, go ahead.
You back?
No, I got you there.
You're back.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to expect, David, to be honest. I wasn't sure if you're going to be some sort of just crazy evangelical firebrand. You're very calm, very collected. It's a very intelligent conversation, and I actually can't imagine a more appropriate person for you to talk to as a bridgehead. Not that there's some strategy to unroll what you're doing here necessarily from today, but a person that represents UK education in a very considered and constructive way. And I think if all we've done today is connect you two, I think that's time very well spent. Brew Ed and there's another colleague of Ed's called Darren, who has a similar mindset. He's busy with family, he's a lecturer, he's very passionate about social justice, education, all these things that we share in common. And one thing I'd love to do, I mean, we nearly did it this year, was to have a 3-day festival, a proper festival outdoors at the end of May. And I'm hoping very much, and I think Ed and I have sort of formed some bonds these last few weeks, months, that it'd be great if we could actually do something like that. What do you say, Ed? And we can actually sort of develop these conversations.
Yeah, well, we should have done it, shouldn't we? We should have been out in a tent in a field with human beings. But I think
we'll do it.
Actually, it's worked out fine. There's been, not much to celebrate in lockdown, but I've made connections with people I would never have met, and people who couldn't have come to events, people because they live too remotely, because they have family commitments, because of their own health condition or whatever. People have been coming to events like the ones you've been organising, and the ones that me and Graham have been organising, and the ones that me and Darren have been organising. Every weekend I've been on a video chatting to people that I would never have met. I've made real connections. Delighted to meet you today, Daniel, and hopefully see you again soon. Have a proper chat. Maybe one day you'll come over here and I'll buy you a pint. I'd like that.
And the beer is not the beer is not warm in England, David. Okay, don't believe what they tell you.
That's not today. It's not. That's so hot. I've got mine in the fridge.
That's another conspiracy. Warm beer and fog. So when you come to London, if ever you come to London, we'll certainly host you and be very, very, very pleased to continue the conversation. David Rodriguez, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thank
Nick
you.
and Ed,
Lovely.
thanks for your leadership as well. Taking the time to, help teachers and parents out there is really important. So I appreciate you guys taking the leadership and have the conversation. This is where it all begins. Thanks for your kind words and facilitating this event. And I look forward to communicating with you and your audiences in the future.
Fantastic. And a shout out to Left Terrace down there in Valencia for connecting us as well. He does great work with New Art School. Left Terrace has been a rock to us. So thank you very much. And it's lovely to see you.
Yep.
Cheers now. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye. See you again soon.
There you go, Ed. That was an interesting chat, wasn't it?
Really interesting, really interesting. I mean, so much of what Daniel says feels instinctively true and desperately something that we need to think about. Parts of it feel instinctively wrong and things that I don't feel comfortable with, And I think, well, if there's parts of it which feel so true, maybe I really need to think about the parts which feel less true, because it probably doesn't go all one way. And a lovely guy, and he's thought about his stuff, and he's got it lined up to say. So I might be looking at John Gatto, just seeing if I can get hold of that book. Some of it might be batshit, but a lot of it might be true.
Well, it's fascinating. I think on an individual level, it's all absolutely true. And it's interesting, he talks about clients. So his clients are people. Sound like families whose kids have gone off the rails.
Isn't that interesting, though? I can't imagine that in a UK context. He's got a little consultancy about getting your kid out of mainstream. Now, that would be an NGO doing it, in our situation. That's not something that a parent would be paying for. There'd be an organisation with volunteers or with somebody, raising money charitably to make that happen. Interesting, isn't it, that his viewpoints seem to come out of an unquestioning point of the American system with capitalism right at the core. I can run a business which is a school which can graduate kids because that's a way out. Capitalism finding a way for itself to solve its own problems. Interesting. So much to think about there, so much to mumble over, and some of it I think it's our education systems are products of our societies, and that's deeper than we understand, you know. And sometimes we don't ask the right questions about our education systems because we're in that society. Like a fish doesn't understand water because it lives in it all the time. You know, I'm a product of this education system. I went through it. You know, I've got my Oxbridge degree. There's bits of it that I don't know how to question. Listening to someone talking about their own system, sometimes you think, well, that sounds insane. And you realise it's because it's informed by their own education, their own background, where they've come from. And if I understand that, it means I have to look in the mirror a bit more closely and see what are the bits of our system that I'm not questioning just because they feel natural to me.
Well, I think if he's got an argument that says that the American education system dumbs the population down, and after everything that's going on, Donald Trump is still a contender to be re-elected, I think he's made his case, don't you, somehow? So let's move on. Yep. I've got my carrier bag of beer down here somewhere. Now I didn't. I've got to match this against the list, but we've got the Brewed Beer Fest. So that's my clockwork. That went down. That went down very nicely. That did. And I just randomly bought some. The co-op has got a good selection of sort of crafty beers. So that's Camden Hells. That's fairly common now. You see
That's fairly standard.
You see that in lots of places, don't you?
Nice ale. I don't mind that.
So
what
this
else is on the list?
Well, I don't know. I just grabbed what I could because I was on the run. But that's Brooklyn IPA. Right. So that's a fairly big brewery in Brooklyn, US. So that feels appropriate with David having just been on. But I'm going to match this against the list. I just went on the Meantime. Is that quite London Lagers? That's a big brewery, isn't it?
Yeah, I like those.
Okay.
They do. I mean, even in a small co-op, I'm not going to be a massive shout out for them.
Camden
sponsors my style, but I do have a co-op up the road, and I do frequently buy a beer from it, and I'm very pleased with the range that they offer. It's a long. Do you remember back in the day, Nick, when we were growing up? I imagine we're much of an age. How many beers were there in your local shop?
Oh my goodness!
There was Ruddles County. There was Red Stripe.
Oh, you had Red Stripe. Where did you live? Where did you grow up having Red Stripe? Blimey.
Oh, I think we had it. But the range of beers which are available in Britain now, the number of breweries, that's part of our creativity, isn't it?
Well, everything's
put your finger on what is Britain been great at? You know, great at music. Yeah, we've done the Beatles, we've done the Stones, we've done, electronic music came, all these different things. What else are we good at? Plays, yeah, best playwrights in the world come from Britain, it's true. Poets, yes. Brewers, certainly. Some of the best beer in the world coming from these shores. Something to be proud of in these days when sometimes you look in the paper and there's not a lot to be proud of, but we'll go to the co-op, look on the beer shelves, be proud to be British.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Although if you go to America, they seem to have quite a lot. So here we go. These are the 8 beers that they suggested. Brewdog Vermont Vacation.
Okay.
Have you heard of that one?
I haven't tried it, but I trust the Brewdog brand. I'm not, I don't want to think I've been brainwashed by their product, but everyone I've drunk, I've enjoyed.
That's a co-op exclusive. They've got Co-op IPA exclusive, Co-op Triple Ale exclusive, Co-op Golden Ale exclusive. They've got the co-ops. Co-Lab, a collaboration with Brewgooder and Robinson's Brewery exclusive to Co-op. Sam Adams Boston Lager, which is fairly bread and butter. Heart and Soul IPA, that's a nice one because there's a Heart and Soul special needs.
That's good weekday beer, that one, I think, the Heart and Soul. And
then Pride and Joy West Coast IPA, so we've got to try and track those down.
Yeah, I'm not sure where my biggest co-op. I'm going to look on my app. I'm going to see if I can find the biggest co-op near me. I'm going to tootle over there. I'm going to buy the list.
I'll send you that list.
I'm going to be back. Have we got a few people helping out with this beer festival? Have we, Nick? Have we got a few people signed up to taste and talk?
The beers went out, or the vouchers for the beers went out to Chris Dyson, Vic Goddard, Simon Kidwell, yourself, Darren, Malumba. Colin Grimes.
Good.
Although he said he didn't think he could drink that much this weekend. And
he can try.
He absolutely can. And there was one chap who came in cold after I put a tweet out saying free beer. I can't believe I put a tweet out saying free beer and only one person came back. I'll tell you what, Twitter's not terribly responsive at the moment. I'm finding you get a few retweets. So you might get 4,000 impressions, but 20 people actually look. So it's.
I think that it's nearly the end of what has felt like a very, very, very long period of time. It's very hot. People are tired. People are fractious and argumentative. There's nasty stuff going down. I think what people need to do is chill out in the garden with a cool drink. But certainly, you're right, at the moment, Twitter is not doing its thing in the education world. People are too tired and too cross, and they're not really engaging, which is, I think it's okay. It's 3 and a bit weeks, people. We can make it through to the end of the line. We'll get over the finishing line, and then we'll get a proper rest, which most of us haven't had since Christmas. We're falling to pieces. We're cross. We're tired. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun this weekend on your Glasgow. Hopefully we've got some amazing stuff, haven't we? You've got. I'm really looking forward to see Glenn Matlock and Earl. Yeah, that's
an amazing
good.
set. We've got that. We've got the Kemps, Martin Gary Kemp.
Mr. William Jones playing, haven't you? You got him playing on your headliner.
He's on Sunday night. Tonight
yeah,
we've got Robert Elms.
Leave that playing. We'll have conversations and music and fun and ideas. Leave that playing. Chill out. Have a drink. Try and get the best you can out of this weekend. We've got 3 more weeks and then a couple more days, and then we will cross the finishing line. If people are listening in Scotland, I think they've just finished, haven't they? Am I right? Scottish
I think they've finished a while ago. Actually, I've got a feeling they might have finished a while ago. Let me have a look. Tonight we've got Robert Elms for half an hour. Then we've got John Mitchinson. So they're two very interesting
When's
conversations.
Robert Elms on?
He's on at 7. He's in conversation with Chris Sullivan. He's brilliant. You've got John Mitchinson. I don't know if you know him, but he runs an organisation called Unbound, which is self-funded, crowd-funded book publishing.
You know what? I'm waiting on a delivery from him right now.
There you go.
Waiting on a delivery from that man. If you let me on for 5 minutes, I'll ask him where it's got to, because Townsend Roswell sent all hers out, and I'm waiting on my copy.
I'm not going to stress him with customer service. You've got Don Letts tomorrow night, Pam Hogg Sunday, Lenny on tonight, Emily Capel, who's brilliant, Glyn, we've got Danny Rampling. Tonight we've got Charlie Phillips, we've had you, and David Rodriguez. We had Marcus earlier. Minnie Greer tomorrow night. Hopefully Nina Jackson at some stage. Carol Allen's hopefully going to pop in. It's just been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I think I'm going to knock it on the head now, mate. Should we save your ukulele for another moment this weekend? Because I want
I'm not going to include myself because I'm not like that. But you've got world famous rock stars, and you've got head teachers, and you've got mums, and you've got grandpas, and you've got professional artists, and all these people are just on the level, giving a bit of time for a chat and for a bit of sharing ideas and making connections. It's all on the level, isn't it? You know, you can have someone like me, and after that you can have someone like Robert Elms, and there we are, we're on the level. It's a beautiful thing that we're making it together. It's lovely.
Well, I'm so pleased to hear you say that, because that has been the agenda, to bring the conversation out of the bubble, connect it with the creative industries and bring a broader business, to connect schools and leaders like you with society. Because I don't care what anybody says, teachers are a great bunch when they're on their own, but they're not that brilliant in public. They're almost a little bit keep your head down. And you know, that would have been an objective of that festival if we'd done the Brewhead Camp. If we'd been able to do that, we would have got teachers sitting side by side with parents, building those bonds, realising they've got a lot in common, that 80% in common and not the 10% moaning at parents' evening. Ed, I'll be back to you over the weekend. You're around this weekend, are you much? A few bits and pieces?
I am around, and I shall see you soon. I shall see you around, but you take a break now, because you've got Robert Elms and you've got 56 minutes to get yourself ready for that.
I wanted to get your ukulele out. We'll get your ukulele out some other time. Maybe before Glenn Matlock hits the stage or something. That'd be fun.
Yes.
That'd be great. Thanks a lot, Ed. I'll catch you later soon. Bye bye, mate.
All right, mate. Look after yourself.
Thanks.
See you.
Thanks a lot. See you now. Wow. Well, there you go. There you go. That's how we roll around here. I'm going to pack it on the head now. I'm just going to go out with a little bit of a sting, I think, because I've had a brilliant day, actually. I woke up full of anxiety and worry and what's going to happen today kind of vibes, as I'm sure you can imagine. And it's been wonderful. Our first day of Your Glasgow. By you, for you. By you, for you, with you. From Brookside Primary Academy, thanks to the wonderful head teacher, school community leader there, Mr. Walton, and the team. This is for you. We're very excited. It's just been the most fantastic day. We've been here live and direct. Thank you all very much. This has been Your Glasto, day 1, an event that needs you on the stage. If you want to perform, if you want to speak, if you want to get involved, please get in touch. Email us at yourturn@steamco.org.uk, fill the form in. We've got slots tomorrow, we've got a few slots tonight. Be part of it with your art.